Warcraft, the Tree of Eternity. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 501 3 Matters. Compared with the first attack on the Lava Kingdom, the demons of the South Abyss Alliance seem to be more experienced. Among the 800,000 demon troops, although most of them are the private armies of the demon nobles, some are the elites of various demon cities. In particular, among this batch of troops, there are also the 100,000 demon soldiers who survived the first attack on the Lava Kingdom. These 100,000 demon soldiers can be said to have set an example for other demons. With experience, they can lead and guide other demon soldiers to avoid the ubiquitous lava caves in the Lava Kingdom. The more than 20 demon kings sent by the South Abyss Alliance this time are also flying in the air vigilantly, guarding against possible attacks. This time, the South Abyss Alliance can be said to have come out in full force. If it fails again, it will really be defeated and even conquered by demon forces in other places. In a lava river not far from the marching route of the South Abyss Alliance's demon army, Illidan was secretly shocked. The South Abyss Alliance is really going to do it, and it actually dispatched so many troops. Although I have learned a rough number from the Father God, imagination and seeing with one's own eyes are two different things. In fact, Illidan has seen wars involving millions of people on the continent of Slays, but how can those weak humans be compared with the demon army? Although most of these 800,000 demon troops are not elite, they can even compete with two human empires in Slays. However, these troops are not the key. Illidan's eyes are deep. Although under the guidance of those so-called experienced demon soldiers, this batch of demon troops did not suffer as much as the first attack on the lava country due to environmental factors, but this does not mean that they can move freely in the lava country. On the contrary, these seemingly huge demon troops, which are mostly composed of demon soldiers, are even easier to deal with in Illidan's eyes than the previous 300,000 demon troops. However, the epic level strongmen of nearly 50 are really difficult to deal with. All the demon kings of the Nenean Alliance, except for less than 10 who stayed behind to guard against possible invasions by demon forces in other regions, were all dispatched. With the 20 heroes sent by the Undead, Illidan really couldn't find a way to fight back. With so many epic level strongmen, even if Illidan restored his original form and appeared as a mythical demon hunter, it would still be a tragedy. However, compared with the worries of other epic level flame creatures in the Lava Kingdom, Illidan seemed more relaxed. As an undercover, Illidan did not seriously try to build relationships with those epic level flame creatures. Anyway, with the feather sent by the Fire Emperor as a command, there was no need to worry that those flame creatures would not listen to his command. Compared with those flame creatures who were truly loyal to the Lava Kingdom, although Illidan seemed to be united against the enemy on the surface, and even took the initiative to take risks as a temporary supreme commander to investigate the situation, he actually did not care about the fate of the Lava Kingdom. Even if the Lava Kingdom was destroyed by the South Abyss Alliance, the South Abyss Alliance would definitely suffer heavy losses. Overall, the strength of the entire demon world will be weakened by a quarter or even more after this battle. That was destined to be a lose-lose battle. In Illidan's mind, or Euphena's mind, this battle was a life and death battle between the South Abyss Alliance and the Lava Kingdom, but secretly it had other meanings for them. This secret meaning was actually divided into 3 items, and also had different priorities. First, the most important thing was Euphena's purpose of coming to this demon world, the Heart of Darkness. He almost believed that the Fire Demon Emperor must know the news about the Heart of Darkness, but he didn't want to reveal it to others, even if this other was his subordinate and a fellow tribesman. In this battle, no matter what the Fire Demon Emperor had in mind, he would definitely fight. Otherwise, the Lava Kingdom and the South Abyss Alliance, which had obtained the support of the Undead, had a huge gap in strength, and it would definitely be a one-sided situation. And if it fought, Illidan, who was an epic fire demon on the surface, but actually a mythical demon hunter, would have an opportunity to take advantage of it, and he might get the whereabouts of the Heart of Darkness. The second, and secondary, was to explore the true strength of the Undead and the purpose of their sudden participation in this war. As the undead who are likely to be time travelers like himself, Yufei is highly concerned. They suddenly changed their appearance and took the risk to participate in this war as the so-called undead demon realm. Yufei couldn't help but care about what the hidden story was. The last item is to consume the manpower of both sides. This item is also very important. After all, it is consuming the overall strength of the demon world, but compared with the first two items, it is not so important. Secondly, it is easier to do with Illidan, a higher level undercover, so Yufei doesn't care much. But now, the first and second items are difficult to do. The Fire Demon Emperor ignored Illidan's call and did not respond. The undead are hiding in the army of the Naniuan Alliance and don't show up. As a last resort, Illidan can only choose to carry out the third task first. If only relying on the hundreds of thousands of flame creatures that fought against the demon troops in the basin of the volcanic area last time, Illidan would definitely not have the confidence to fight against the 800,000 demon army. With such a large number gap, the flame creatures are not organized night elves or blood elves with various special abilities. Even if Illidan showed his mythical strength, it would be difficult to turn the tide. Fortunately, as one of the 4 regions of the demon world, the lava kingdom is much smaller than the abyss land, but it is not as small as only hundreds of thousands of flame creatures. According to incomplete statistics, the number of flame creatures and some demons with fire attributes living in the lava kingdom is more than 2 million. If there were not such a large number, the Fire Demon Emperor would not have intended to unify the demon world. However, when awakening the Fire Demon Emperor, most of the residents of the Lava Kingdom contributed their own strength to wake up the Fire Demon Emperor in advance. This made them all in a state of exhaustion for a while, unable to exert their combat effectiveness. It is precisely because of this that the last time the South Abyss Alliance attacked, there were only hundreds of thousands of flame creatures to fight. This time, the South Abyss Alliance came with the prestige of 800,000 troops, but it could not rely on these hundreds of thousands of flame creatures to meet the enemy. Although many residents of the Lava Kingdom have not yet fully recovered their combat effectiveness, after consultation with Illidan and other epic fire creatures, they still issued a conscription order similar to the one in Castlevania that recruited demon nobles. Chapter 502, Notorious. Under the conscription order issued by Illidan as the temporary ruler of the Lava Kingdom, many fire creatures immediately began to gather in tribes. Of course, this does not mean that Illidan can easily command the Lava Kingdom. The epic fire creatures in the conscription order have made great efforts. Although these fire creatures are not very convinced by Illidan, this guy who suddenly appeared. On the one hand, the Fire Emperor did appoint Illidan as a temporary ruler. On the other hand, Illidan has always shown a strong hatred for other demons, so they have cooperated with Illidan's various instructions. However, although the conscription order has some effect, in the end, only about 600,000 fire creatures that have recovered some combat power and can participate in the war have been summoned. Even if the rest of the fire creatures responded to the conscription, they can only be cannon fodder, so they simply did not conscript. With more than 600,000 troops in hand, Illidan immediately had some ideas. The key to this war is actually still the Fire Emperor. If the Fire Lord can wake up and join the battle before the decisive battle, there is still hope for a battle. Otherwise, if not, these more than 600,000 troops are just delivering food to the South Abyss Alliance. So what needs to be done now is to delay the marching speed of the South Abyss Alliance troops as much as possible to buy time for the Fire Lord. Illidan is still counting on getting news of the Heart of Darkness from the Fire Lord and consuming the overall strength of the demon world. One-sidedness is not what he wants to see. So, the guerrilla warfare tactic was used by Illidan again. But this time is different from the last time. He no longer aims to kill the demon soldiers of the South Abyss Alliance to show his loyalty, but uses all kinds of tricks to hinder the advancement of the South Abyss Alliance troops, even if it does not cause much casualties. It was also the last time that Illidan used the identity of Gosmo to make various harassment actions that made the demon kings of the South Abyss Alliance really crazy, so that this time they have become nervous and suspicious. As long as Illidan's fire demon showed up, the demon kings flying in the air would send out a warning from afar, asking the troops to stop advancing to prevent them from falling into the trap of the Lava Kingdom again. However, after Illidan found that the Demon Kings of the Southern Abyss Alliance were somewhat morbidly vigilant, he only pretended to show up every time and did not make any ambush. Even so, due to the notoriety of the fire demon Gosmo, as long as he appeared, the entire army of the Southern Abyss Alliance would stop suddenly. However, after doing this many times, the Demon Kings gradually found that Illidan seemed to be just coming out to scare them and hinder their march. When Illidan appeared again with his fangs and claws bared, but without any follow-up actions, the vigilant Demon Kings were too lazy to send out a warning. However, these vigilant Demon Kings had never heard the story of the wolf coming. The next time Illidan appeared leisurely, the vigilant Demon Kings still just glanced lazily and waved their hands to show that everything was fine, but this time there was really something wrong. 800,000 demon troops, marching in a queue, were like a winding long snake. When Illidan appeared again, but was no longer taken seriously, a commotion suddenly occurred at the waist of the long snake. The demon army, which was advancing with great vigor, suddenly felt the ground under their feet shaking. The demon veterans who participated in the last war in the team were shocked and wanted to warn, but it was too late. The rock ground under the feet of the demon soldiers, which originally looked extremely solid, suddenly scattered piece by piece and turned into stone men with hands and feet emitting a burning breath, and fell into the lava river below and sank to the bottom. The demon soldiers who were originally advancing on the suspended ground formed by these stone men suddenly encountered this situation and could only fall into the lava river without warning. Even the few demon soldiers with wings that could fly without reaching the cloud level were already spotted by the ambushed stone men, and when they fell, they were dragged and fell into the lava river together. It turned out that Illidan had summoned a creature called Lava Stone Man to turn its body into a road, blocking a flowing lava river, forming a huge living trap. The Demon Kings were flying in the air, paying attention to the movement in the distance, but they failed to find the trap that had been set up long ago. The bodies of the Lava Stone Man were exactly the same as the rocks that can be seen everywhere in the Lava Kingdom. They were tangled together and were no different from the ground in other places. This was also because there were too many kinds of strange elemental creatures in the Lava Kingdom, which were not well known to the demons in other areas. Plus the last time the Nanean Alliance attacked, the Lava Stone Man tribe did not recover to join the battle, so the Nanean Alliance troops, who were already very vigilant, were once again caught. The Demon Kings of the Nanean Alliance thought that Illidan was just harassing them in an insignificant way to delay the advance of their troops, but after they gradually relaxed, he did this again, causing the demon troops to lose more than 10,000 miscellaneous soldiers. Although these 10,000 soldiers are nothing compared to the 800,000 strong army, they also made the Demon Kings worried again and reminded them of the abomination of the fire demon Gosmo. No, we still have to be doubly vigilant. When they thought of the last war, because of that damned fire demon, 300,000 elite demon troops lost 1/3 before they actually fought with the Lava Kingdom. These Demon Kings became suspicious. This time it is said to be an army of 800,000, but in fact, how can the private armies of those demon nobles compare to the real elites of each demon city? If the fire demon uses all the tricks of the last time, it is possible that 1/3 of the troops will be lost before the real battle. In this way, when Illidan appeared again in the distance, the Nanean Alliance troops did not dare to neglect it and had to stop to check if there were any traps around. After that, even if Illidan appeared several times in a row without traps, the Demon Kings of the Nanean Alliance did not dare to relax. Even the great demon Lord Murphy personally went into battle to constantly sense whether there was even a trace of life on the ground during the march, and to guard against the various traps of the flame demon Gosmo. However, although this can ensure that the demon army will not suffer much loss, it greatly slows down the marching speed. When the 800,000 troops of the Nanean Alliance had marched for more than 10 days and were still halfway to the volcanic area, they finally came to their senses. This is definitely delaying time. The Demon Kings were so cunning that they immediately thought that the Flame Demon Emperor had just been awakened and encountered a war not long ago, so he must be recuperating now. That abominable Flame Demon Gosmo is really a loyal lackey of the Flame Demon Emperor. He actually used his notoriety to tease our great Nanean Alliance and delay the recovery of the Flame Demon Emperor. There was a large-scale power outage 2 days ago, and the manuscript happened to be gone in the manuscript box, so I couldn't update. Thanks to the book friend Wendy Hay for the reward of 100 Nyangbi. Chapter 503, The End. Illidan had no idea that he had been given the title of a lackey, and he was still tirelessly harassing the march of the Naniuan Alliance's troops. But soon, he found that the enemy was no longer fooled. For Illidan's open and covered provocations, the Naniuan Alliance troops were no longer panicked, but they were not unprepared like the previous time, when the wolf came, but became steady and cautious. Whenever Illidan appeared in the distance, the part of the Demon Kings flying in the air was still alert, but did not immediately send a signal to stop the troops from advancing. Instead, they focused their attention on Illidan's movements and quietly sent warnings to other Demon Kings in the team. After receiving the warning, the Demon Kings on the ground remained calm, but quietly carried out in-depth scans of the outer areas according to the pre-arranged arrangements. If no signs of danger were found, the Naniuan Alliance troops would continue to advance boldly, and this situation was the most common, because Illidan was bluffing most of the time. And if there really was a trap, it would be absolutely impossible to hide it with the ability of the Demon Kings to check it carefully. Because even those flame creatures whose bodies are rocks or magma in the native lava kingdom still have life breath, and they can't hide in the Demon King's spiritual perception. After the two ambush troops sent out were detected by the Demon Kings of the South Abyss Alliance and destroyed without hesitation, Illidan suddenly realized that the South Abyss Alliance had learned its lesson. It seems that only this can be achieved with inferior harassment methods. Illidan was very satisfied that he could waste more than 10 days of the South Abyss Alliance's time with this bluffing method, or perhaps a combination of reality and illusion. But the next step is difficult. After discovering that his little tricks were no longer effective, Illidan no longer used his notoriety to contain the troops of the South Abyss Alliance, because they would not be fooled anyway. In this way, the marching speed of the South Abyss Alliance troops returned to normal, and they reached the volcanic area in a few days. The core area of the Lava Kingdom is where the volcanic group is located, and the Flame Demon Emperor was also awakened here. In other words, the Lava Kingdom had been driven out of the capital. However, although the situation was not good, Illidan was not worried at all. Compared with the plains outside, the volcanic group was the home of the flame creatures. Although there were many lava rivers exposed in the plains, which could be used to replenish the strength and drive the flame creatures, how could they compare to the volcanic group, which seemed to have little exposed magma on the surface? But in fact, countless lava flows were flowing freely a few meters under the mountain crust. Even the Demon Kings of the Naniuan Alliance remained highly vigilant, but they suffered a great loss not long after entering the volcanic area. This time, Illidan was ruthless. Not only did he, as the current temporary ruler of the Lava Kingdom, personally take action, but even several epic flame creatures in the Lava Kingdom took action together. In cooperation with a large number of elemental creatures such as the Flame Elves who were good at manipulating lava flows, Illidan and several epics directly detonated more than a dozen volcanoes in succession. Although this major change in the earth veins was discovered in advance by the vigilant Demon King of the South Abyss Alliance, because of the strong vibration at the beginning, and thus a certain degree of early warning was given, the South Abyss Alliance's demon army, which was too numerous and bloated, still suffered a lot of damage. More importantly, after the dozen volcanoes were detonated, the magma that erupted from the ground flowed freely, cutting off the way forward for the South Abyss Alliance. Originally, the demons in the South Abyss Alliance were not familiar with the terrain and roads in the Lava Kingdom. Last time, it was also by accident, and the Lava Kingdom intentionally guided them to a decisive battle, so that they were able to find the basin in the volcanic group. This time, the demons of the South Abyss Alliance also marched in the volcanic group with the idea of taking the road ahead again, but Illidan used this plan to directly cut off the road they had walked and roughly remembered. Now, they have to waste a lot of time to find the basin again, and Illidan's intention was to delay time. As for the negative impact that the dozen volcanoes would have on the surrounding environment after being detonated, he did not consider it at all. Anyway, most of the creatures in the Lava Kingdom are pure flame creatures, and they should have adapted to such an environment long ago. However, detonating volcanoes to block the way forward for the Naniuan Alliance army is only a stopgap measure. The volcano group is not like 100,000 mountains. The basin where the Fire Demon Emperor resides will eventually be found by the Nenean Alliance. All Illidan can do is to rely on the convenience of the Lava Kingdom's familiarity with the terrain and environment and its attribute advantages to try to buy time for the Fire Demon Emperor to recover. Fortunately, although the flame creatures that have just recovered from the Lava Kingdom may not be as numerous as the Nenean Alliance, and even the quality can only be comparable to those miscellaneous soldiers because of the overdrawn power to awaken the Fire Demon Emperor. As flame creatures, they are like fish in water in this volcanic group full of magma. Under Illidan's arrangement, the recruited flame creatures did not gather together to fight head-on with the Nenean Alliance, which had an advantage in overall strength. Instead, they were divided into teams of tens of thousands or hundreds to fight a sparrow war. The flame creatures were familiar with the terrain, and most of them could move freely in the magma. With the magma flowing everywhere in the volcano group, it was impossible to defend against harassment. After learning several painful lessons, the demon army of the Nenean Alliance had to be carefully scanned by the Demon King before passing a volcano or crossing a magma river. But even so, because the team was too bloated, they were still ambushed by the Lava Kingdom from time to time. During this period, Illidan also took action again, using the talent of the Fire Demon to cast the volcanic eruption skill several times, which also caused great trouble to the Nenean Alliance troops. The demon's resentment for the name of Gothmo was also deepened. Illidan used all means, relying on the geographical advantage to greatly delay the march of the Nenean Alliance troops. During the time he delayed, more residents of the Lava Kingdom gradually recovered their strength and participated in the war. The entire Lava Kingdom has more than 2 million flame creatures in total, and the Nenean Alliance can be said to be trapped in the ocean of people's war. If it weren't for the huge advantage of the Nenean Alliance in high-end combat power this time, Illidan even felt that the residents of the Lava Kingdom alone could destroy the Nenean Alliance troops. And now, more and more flame creatures can only continue to delay the advance of the Nenean Alliance troops. Finally, 23 days after the demons of the Nenean Alliance entered the volcanic group, they found the way to the central basin of the volcanic group again. On this road, the flame creatures on the side of the Lava Kingdom were extremely crazy, so much so that many flame creatures launched suicide attacks in an attempt to buy time for the Flame Demon Emperor. Facing the Lava Nation's reckless attack, the Nenean Alliance was also in a state of panic, and more than 20 Demon Kings were busy. However, since they had found the way to the destination, these were just minor problems. After a few days of rapid march, the Nenean Alliance's troops finally arrived at the basin. At this time, it had been nearly 2 months since the Nenean Alliance launched the second war against the Lava Nation. In less than 2 months, although the 800,000 demon army had the experience of the last time, they lost more than 200,000 because they faced more enemies. Fortunately, the losses were all recruited demon soldiers, and the main force of this war was the Demon King level strongman, which made the Nenean Alliance still have strong confidence. The basin in the center of the volcanic group is very large, but in front of the 600,000 demon troops and the larger number of flame creatures, it seems a bit crowded. Here, a war with more than 1 million participating troops is about to take place. 4 more chapters today. Chapter 504. The final battle begins. Raka is an ordinary red rock demon. Of course, this red rock refers to the fact that Raka's skin is red and as hard as rock, not that the red rock demon is an elemental creature like the lava stone man. As a relatively low-level demon in the demon world, the strength of the red rock demon is generally not high, and Raka is no exception. Originally, Raka had been a glorious lackey under the great demon Count Valak, living a relatively peaceful life. However, this relatively peaceful life was broken 2 months ago. Under the order of the Demon King, who was greater than Lord Valak, Lord Valak took Raka and hundreds of other demon warriors to respond to the call of Lord Demon. After that, Raka saw what a big scene was. It once counted on its fingers, trying to count how many demon nobles as great as Lord Valak responded to Lord Demon's call and participated in the war. But even if it counted its toes, it only counted 28 in the end. This was just the tip of the iceberg. After seeing the 800,000 demons gathered by the Nenean Alliance, and knowing that these 800,000 demons would unite to fight, Raka was full of excitement. In his mind, no enemy could survive such a huge force. Unfortunately, the subsequent encounter quickly wore away Laka's excitement. When he followed his lord into the lava kingdom, he quickly felt the difference in the environment. Although more than a month has passed, and he has almost adapted, Laka still hates the lava kingdom where even the air seems to be burning. In fact, as a red rock demon with some fire attributes, it is already good. This time, the Naniuan Alliance did not specifically select demons with fire attributes like last time. Almost all the demon warriors that could be recruited were brought into the lava kingdom. Even Laka, a red rock demon, could not stand the environment of the lava kingdom, so you can imagine the other demons. But the environment is just like that. Although it is very hot, it just feels uncomfortable and does not threaten life. But the enemy is different. As a demon from a small place, Laka had never seen a fire creature. Along the way, Laka was amazed and gradually developed an emotion called fear. That time, just 10 meters away from Laka, the originally flat ground suddenly turned into stone men and broke apart, revealing the lava river below. Laka saw countless demons wailing and falling into the lava river, dying. Among them, there were even demons it knew. After that, the number of enemies appeared more and more, especially after entering the volcanic area. Some clever Laka has been following closely behind his lord, Earl Valak, to counter the danger that may appear at any time. It was only because of this cleverness that Laka did not become one of the 200,000 dead demon warriors. But now, it can't avoid the battle after all. After experiencing the shock of more than a dozen volcanic eruptions and the scene of countless strange fire creatures suddenly appearing with lava flows, Laka and other demon warriors stepped into a huge basin together. After marching through countless volcanoes for a month, Laka was quite excited when he first discovered that his troops had reached a basin. However, when he saw the fire creatures in the basin that seemed to be more numerous than his own from a distance on the hillside of a volcano, Laka was immediately gripped by fear. This fear was not dissipated until more than 20 demon kings from the Naniuan Alliance flew up and released their powerful auras. Because correspondingly, there were only about 10 demon king level strongmen with powerful auras among those fire creatures. Unfortunately, the advantage of the Naniuan Alliance in high-end combat power did not bring a good start to the war for a while. Because the troops of the Naniuan Alliance gradually entered the basin from the volcanic area, at the beginning only a small number of demon troops faced a large number of fire creatures. Illidan would naturally not give up this advantage brought by the terrain. Under his command, the fire creatures were not polite at all and gave them a head-on blow when the demons of the Naniuan Alliance just showed up. In a sense, the Lava Kingdom is now in a situation similar to a half-crossing attack on the Naniuan Alliance troops, so the advantage it brings is also very obvious. Because of the terrain, the demons of the Naniuan Alliance could not advance into the basin in full force for a while. As many troops entered the basin, they would be destroyed by the fire creatures that blocked them in the valley. After losing about 50,000 demon soldiers at a very fast speed, the demon kings of the Naniuan Alliance made a decisive decision. In addition to the self-righteous demon king Murphy, the other 20 or so demon kings put down their status and personally took action to escort the Naniuan Alliance's vanguard. The Lava Kingdom's epic powerhouses, including Illidan, only have a dozen or so, and there is no way to form a scene of soldiers against soldiers and generals against generals with the Naniuan Alliance. They can only sit and watch the demon troops of the Naniuan Alliance gradually pour into the basin under the protection of the demon kings. Then, it was the Naniuan Alliance that took the initiative to launch an attack. Those demon kings were extremely unethical and participated in the battle from the beginning. They all possessed strong mental power, enough to scan how many flame creatures existed in the basin. After realizing that the demon soldiers they brought had no advantage in numbers and strength, the demon kings simply lost their shame and led their troops to fight. The tradition of the demon world is that soldiers fight with soldiers and demon kings fight with demon kings. As for the war, where one side has no demon king and the other side has a demon king, it will not happen. Generally speaking, if both sides of the war have demon king level existences, even if there is a difference in number, ordinary soldiers and demon kings should fight separately. Now, the Naniuan Alliance can be said to have destroyed the tradition, and the demon kings actually participated in the killing of ordinary soldiers. Of course, although this is not good in terms of face, the actual effect is extremely outstanding. Even if there is a slight advantage in number and the environment is convenient, the flame creatures are still crushed in front of the demon kings. The Naniuan Alliance's actions made the epic strongmen of the Lava Kingdom furious, and they all rushed forward and fought with those demon kings. However, there are only a dozen or so demon kings on the side of the Lava Kingdom. Even if they go after the enemy demon kings one by one, the Naniuan Alliance still has about 10 demon kings who can't stop them. Fortunately, the Lava Kingdom is fighting on its own land. There are endless flame creatures coming from the underground magma flow to participate in the battle at all times, including legendary flame creatures and fire demons. Just like the last time, the Fire Demon Emperor summoned a large number of small fire demons to fight against multiple demon kings. These legendary flame creatures and fire demons who came to help also gathered together to contain some demon kings on the side of the Naniuan Alliance. However, there are also many legendary demons on the side of the Naniuan Alliance, and relying on legendary strength to fight against demon kings is not a feasible method when there is no absolute numerical advantage. Soon, the Lava Kingdom showed a state of weakness. However, when his side was at a disadvantage, Illidan did not panic at all. He did not even participate in the battle, but commanded in an orderly manner, just like the great demon Lord Murphy was doing. Illidan could feel that after he had fought for about 2 months, the condition of the Fire Demon Emperor was gradually getting better. Under the catalysis and shock of this million-level war, the Fire Demon Emperor seemed to be about to wake up again. This time, the awakened Fire Demon Emperor would not be just an incomplete mythical strongman like last time. Although it is possible that it will not recover to its peak, it is definitely stronger than the strength shown last time. Such strength, without any restraint, is enough to turn the tide of the battle. Chapter 505, Volcano Explosion. Boom boom boom. With a loud noise like an earthquake, the huge volcano in the center of the basin trembled again. However, the fire creatures and demon soldiers who were bloodthirsty rarely paid attention to that place. This was not the first time that the huge volcano shook and made a loud noise. At the beginning, when the huge volcano shook, all the demons and fire creatures thought that the Fire Demon Emperor was about to crawl out of it, and even most of the demons and fire creatures who were fighting temporarily stopped and looked at the volcano together. However, the shaking was thunder and rain, and it only made some noises and returned to calm. The Fire Demon Emperor that everyone imagined did not appear. This made Illidan's face show a trace of astonishment, and he was a little unconvinced. No way. Is the Fire Demon Emperor going to let everyone pigeons? It shouldn't be. The Lava Kingdom is its own power, and it is impossible to sit back and watch the Lava Kingdom fail in the battle. In the following period of time, the huge volcano in the center of the basin shook and made loud noises several times. Every time everyone thought that the Fire Emperor was about to appear, the figure that held the hope of the Lava Kingdom never showed up. After several times like this, no one paid attention to the volcano anymore, and they all threw themselves into the fierce battle, except Illidan. Illidan was located halfway up the huge volcano. Although he had a strong mental power and did not need to look down to observe the battle situation, standing in this position allowed the troops fighting in the distance to see his orders. It was precisely because he was on top of the volcano that Illidan was able to accurately feel the situation inside the volcano. Although the Fire Emperor did not show his figure from the volcano during the previous several shocks, Illidan could sense that the hot breath inside the volcano was gradually weakening. These hot breaths represent the large amount of magma inside the volcano and the fire attribute energy contained in it, and the weakening of these breaths naturally could not be without reason. There is only one possibility, that the energy in the volcano has been gradually and completely absorbed by the Fire Emperor. In other words, the Fire Lord will soon wake up, perhaps in the next moment. Illidan looked much more relaxed. The situation on the scene was very unfavorable to the Lava Kingdom, but if the Fire Lord woke up immediately, the situation would probably be reversed if there were no accidents. Illidan was not disappointed. When the shaking of the volcano was once again ignored by everyone, something unexpected happened. This time, the volcano in the center of the basin was not only shaking, but countless cracks suddenly appeared on the entire volcano. Illidan immediately predicted what might happen later, and flew away from the volcano. The flame creatures and demons that were fighting also turned their attention to the huge volcano in the center of the basin. Looking at the countless huge cracks that appeared on the volcano, almost every demon soldier of the South Abyss Alliance thought of the dozen volcanoes that erupted together when they first entered the volcanic zone. Could it be that the Lava Kingdom was going to use this trick again to make this volcano burst and use the lava flow to reverse the situation? After thinking about it, most of the demon soldiers were unmoved. This basin is so vast that the eruption of the volcano in the center alone cannot cover the entire basin. Besides, the area where the demon soldiers and the flame creatures are fighting is still on the edge of the basin. If the imagined situation really occurs, they can climb to the surrounding volcanoes at any time without fear of magma invasion. However, unlike ordinary demon soldiers, the faces of the demon kings of the Nenean Alliance have become solemn. They know that things are definitely not that simple. Sure enough, although there are many cracks on the huge volcano, there is no trace of magma flowing out of those cracks, and there is not even any hot air. It is as if the magma in this volcano has completely dried up. Bang, bang. As everyone watched, the sound of a heartbeat suddenly appeared in the volcano with more and more cracks. The basin gradually became quiet. The two sides who were fighting stopped fighting and listened quietly to the beating of the heart that seemed to have magic. The sound of the heartbeat became louder and louder, and all the creatures in the basin were caught up in this wonderful rhythm. Only Elidon, although he also looked like he was listening quietly, was actually not affected by the beating heart. When the bang bang sound gradually rose to a peak, a new sound appeared. Hoo-la la. In everyone's shocked eyes, the volcano in the center of the basin, which could be called the largest volcano in the Lava Kingdom, suddenly exploded and fell apart. How big can a mountain be? Even if the more than 1 million demons and fire creatures in the basin were stacked together, they would not be this big. And such a huge mountain completely exploded, and the number of boulders flying out was incomparably huge. In an instant, the sky became even darker. The sky of the demon world, which was originally dim, was instantly covered by countless flying boulders and completely lost its light. The troops of the Lava Kingdom were the closest to the exploded volcano. The sudden change was a huge blow to the fire creatures. The largest volcano in the Lava Kingdom in the center of the basin has always been the residence of the Flame Demon Emperor and the Holy Mountain of the Lava Kingdom. Now that the Holy Mountain has collapsed, and the Flame Demon Emperor has not appeared, the flame creatures all feel that their faith has collapsed. Under the influence of this emotion, many flame creatures even stayed where they were, without making any evasive or defensive gestures, to resist the falling boulders. Only about half of the flame creatures either hid in the lava river, or made defensive gestures, to resist the falling stones of the Holy Mountain. However, just when the boulders after the volcano exploded were about to fall on the heads of the Lava Kingdom troops, they suddenly stopped. It was as if a hand suddenly grabbed these falling boulders. What was going on? The flame creatures were stunned. Although they did not understand gravity, it was common sense that stones flew up or fell down. Even if some powerful demons could use their power to control the flight of objects, this was a mountain. In terms of mass, the stagnant boulders in the air added up to the weight of a mountain. Who else could freeze a mountain from falling? Even if the mountain had exploded into countless rocks. At least, the great demon King Murphy, who was watching this scene from afar, knew that he could never do this, even if he became a mythical demon king. The huge rocks splashed after the volcano exploded not only covered the area where the flame creatures were, there were also many huge rocks falling over the demon troops at the edge of the basin. However, just a thin line away, these huge rocks did not suddenly stop in the air, but fell on the demons below. How come these rocks can recognize people? Everyone was stunned. Because even in the flame creatures and demons that were entangled in the battle before, this kind of differential treatment was extremely obvious. They were clearly standing together, and the huge rock falling from the flame creature's head just stopped a few meters above it, while a red rock demon standing opposite it was severely pressed down by the rocks falling from the sky. Laka groaned. Even though the skin of the red rock devil is tough, it does not mean that the body is as hard as a rock as the name of this kind of demon suggests. Being pressed down by a rock that is bigger than himself, Laka felt that his internal organs were about to be vomited out. This extremely obvious difference in treatment made everyone with a discerning eye realize that it must be the Fire Emperor who was playing tricks. Illidan was completely relieved. His plan of trying his best to delay time in order to profit from the situation finally paid off. In the ruins of the volcano in the center of the basin, a huge black shadow gradually appeared in front of everyone under a cloud of dust. Thanks to book friends Weddy Hay and SUIZNZHIE for the rewards. Thanks to book friend Weddy Hay for the monthly ticket. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 506 Strange Heart. Bang, bang. In the loud noise of the volcano's explosion, the beating heart sound that caused all the fire creatures and demons to fall into a strange rhythm was covered up and became inaudible. But when the flying boulders were either delayed in midair or hit the demons, the beating heart sound reappeared. At this time, everyone also discovered the source of the beating heart sound. In the dust of the volcanic ruins, a huge black shadow was constantly trembling, stirring up dust, and making bursts of beating sounds. As the dust gradually fell, the appearance of the huge black shadow was also revealed in front of everyone. I saw that where the volcano originally stood, a fiery red heart-shaped object was shaking. It turned out that there was really a heart. No wonder there was such a loud heart-beating sound. Everyone suddenly realized it. However, why did the holy mountain of the lava kingdom leave such a strange heart after the explosion? New puzzles emerged in the hearts of all the demons present. Only the top leaders of both sides had some guesses, and their expressions changed. The legendary flame creatures on the side of the lava kingdom seemed to know what this heart was, and they all became excited, their eyes locked on this huge fiery red heart. The faces of the demon kings of the Southern Abyss Alliance, who had some guesses in their hearts, became very ugly. After a mental scan, all the epic beings could find that this heart was not actually a real heart, and there was no flesh and blood. The texture of this heart was actually formed by the solidification of a large amount of magma, but it had the appearance of a heart. Under the gaze of all the demons and flame creatures, the frequency of the trembling of this heart made of solidified magma became lower and lower, but the beating sound it made became louder and louder. Finally, after a loud noise that almost deafened some weak demon soldiers at the edge of the basin, the heart finally stopped shaking. In the next moment, the heart suddenly collapsed towards the center, and a huge energy radiated from it at the same time. A visible energy wave radiated out in a ring. What caused this was that the boulders that were originally suspended above the flame creatures were blown away by this blow and scattered towards the periphery of the basin. After flying a distance, the boulders that were originally solidified in the air by the mysterious power fell down one after another, as if the hands holding them suddenly loosened. The demon soldiers on the periphery of the basin were all from the Naniuan Alliance. When the boulders fell, they were also the ones who were hurt. At this moment, even the dumbest demons understood that no matter how powerful the mysterious power that caused the volcano to explode and solidified the scattered boulders was, it belonged to the lava kingdom. When the fiery red heart collapsed inward to a certain extent, accompanied by a strange laugh, a figure about 10 meters tall appeared in front of everyone. Illidan rubbed his eyes. What appeared in front of everyone was a fire demon. There is no doubt that the only fire demon that appeared with such loud momentum was a fire demon emperor. However, is there something wrong with this body shape? In the previous invasion of the South Abyss Alliance, the body of the flame demon emperor was extremely huge. Although it was not as big as the holy mountain of the lava kingdom in the center of the basin, it was also the size of an ordinary volcano. And now this body, which is only 10 meters high, can be called huge compared to ordinary demons, but it is a world of difference compared to before. Of course, size does not represent strength. In Illidan's perception, the power contained in the flame demon emperor's current body, which is only 10 meters high, is no less than when it was like a mountain before. Moreover, this powerful power is more restrained. Although the appearance of the Flame Demon Emperor was a little weird, the Demon Kings of the South Abyss Alliance did not mean to laugh at him. The Demon King still remembered the last encounter in front of the Flame Demon Emperor. How could they underestimate this petite enemy? Without even communicating, more than 20 Demon Kings of the South Abyss Alliance attacked together tacitly. Each of them launched an attack, and attacked the Flame Demon Emperor who had just appeared. Although the possibility is small, they still want to take advantage of the moment when the Flame Demon Emperor seems to have just recovered to launch a sneak attack and turn it into a decisive kill. However, the powerful attacks of the Demon Kings of the South Abyss Alliance were not taken seriously by the Flame Demon Emperor. After seeing more than 20 different forms crossing the distance of space at a very fast speed and coming in front of the Flame Demon Emperor, the Flame Demon Emperor just opened his mouth gently and made a sound of poo. And with a sound of poo, a mouthful of thick phlegm appeared. Oh no, it was a piece of hot liquid that looked like thick phlegm. This liquid that looked like phlegm suddenly turned into a raging fire after leaving the mouth of the Flame Demon Emperor. Under this flame, the attacks launched by more than 20 Demon Kings of the South Abyss Alliance were turned into ashes. Those Demon Kings are too ignorant, Illidan sighed in his heart. With such a hasty attack, the Flame Demon Emperor could only counterattack in such an almost insulting way, and this situation is extremely detrimental to morale. More than 20 Demon Kings showed shame and anger. The spit of the Flame Demon Emperor almost completely wiped out their dignity as Demon Kings. The Demon King Murphy in the back was startled. Fortunately, he hesitated and did not take action immediately, otherwise he would be one of the Demon Kings who was slapped in the face. The Demon King Murphy turned his eyes to the mysterious figures behind him. A mental wave was emitted, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth after receiving the response. Flame Demon Emperor, no matter how powerful you are, you can't escape this time. With the appearance of the Flame Demon Emperor, the morale of the flame creatures on the side of the Lava Kingdom was greatly boosted. The Flame Demon Emperor is the god of the Lava Kingdom. When the gods appear, how can the believers not fight with all their strength? On the contrary, the morale of the Naniuan Alliance fell sharply. It was not only because of the appearance of the Flame Demon Emperor, but more because of his thick spit. Demons who were not particularly stupid could see the difference in strength between the two sides from the scene of the flame extinguishing the attacks of more than 20 Demon Kings. This change in morale was soon reflected in the battle. The Naniuan Alliance, which had a great advantage because of the Demon Kings leading the battle, suddenly lost a lot and was completely suppressed by the Lava Kingdom. The situation improved when the awakened Demon Kings joined the battle again. The Fire Demon Emperor, who easily resisted the attacks of more than 20 Demon Kings, frowned. It was not that it was disgusted by the Demon King's unconventional behavior, but it sensed some breath behind the hundreds of thousands of demons that made it feel dangerous. Are there many more Demon Kings joining the battle? The Fire Demon Emperor was relieved. If not, how could the so-called Naniuan Alliance have the courage to invade the Lava Kingdom again? With a change of mind, the Fire Demon Emperor gave Illidan, who was an outstanding junior in its size, an order to continue commanding the battle, and then disappeared in a flash. The Fire Lord is now extremely satisfied with Illidan's disguised Fire Lord Gothmo. Although he was sleeping in the central volcano, he had actually recovered to the level of the last battle more than 10 days ago, and could wake up. However, after noticing the external situation, and feeling that Illidan could delay him for a while again, the Fire Lord simply did not show up, but continued to shrink in the volcano to recover his strength. And Illidan did not disappoint him, and actually fought for more than 10 days. When he found that the battle was extremely unfavorable to the Lava Kingdom, the Fire Lord showed up to turn the tide. It can be said that the Fire Lord is actually putting on a show. In addition to its powerful strength, this kind of show is also indispensable for it to become a god in the hearts of the residents of the Lava Kingdom. The Fire Lord, who appeared behind the demon army in a flash, considered in his heart whether he should also protect this Fire Lord who made him very satisfied. Shaking his head, looking at the strange Demon Kings who appeared in front of him, the Fire Lord decided to devote himself to the battle first. 10,000 words updated, begging for recommendation votes and monthly votes. OTZ. Chapter 507, The Undead Heroes Methods. The strange Demon Kings that the Flame Demon Emperor found were the heroes sent by the Undead to assist the Naniuan Alliance. As soon as the Flame Demon Emperor appeared in front of the Undead hero, 4 giant swords almost simultaneously slashed at his body, which surprised him greatly as he was planning to sneak attack with his sudden appearance. As an undead creature, the Death Knight naturally no longer had any emotions such as surprise. Therefore, although the Flame Demon Emperor appeared very abruptly, it did not make them react in time at all, especially the Flame Demon Emperor's volcanic-like strong life breath, which was extremely obvious in the perception of the undead creatures. Although they were surprised at the quick reaction of these strange demon kings, the Flame Demon Emperor, who took the initiative, would naturally not be unprepared. A thin curtain of fire had already covered the Flame Demon Emperor's body when the four Death Knight's giant sword slashed down. Kyla. This thin curtain of fire seemed fragile and seemed vulnerable, but the four Death Knight's giant sword slashed down, and it was easily cut open like a piece of curtain, and the sword blades fell on the body of the Flame Demon Emperor. It was indeed vulnerable. The Flame Demon Emperor's face was full of disbelief. Although the fire curtain around it looked weak, the power used was no less than the thick phlegm that had offset more than 20 demon kings of the South Abyss Alliance before. Now it was just a blow from 4 strange looking demon kings, and it was cut open like this? Fortunately, the essence is concentrated. The body of the Flame Demon Emperor shrank from the size of a hill to only about 10 meters high now. The armor that originally looked like a black rock texture on his body also changed its appearance, exuding a crystal color, and looking very solid. Dang dang, the 4 giant swords slashed down at the same time, and were also bounced high at the same time. The Flame Demon Emperor retreated backwards, looking at the 4 Death Knights who were only up to his knees in doubt. This is the power of the dead. The Flame Demon Emperor was certain. Only this kind of power that corresponds to the living can ignore the gap in rank to a certain extent and break through his mythical defense with epic level. After taking a deep look at the strange looking figures behind the 4 Death Knights, the Flame Demon Emperor suddenly felt that, although his strength had recovered to a level stronger than the last battle, this battle would be more difficult. After the Flame Demon Emperor relied on his black crystal-like armor to resist the slashes of the 4 Death Knights, he quickly distanced himself from them. Of course, this does not mean that the Flame Demon Emperor did not dare to fight the Death Knights in close combat, but was just vigilant. However, facing the Flame Demon Emperor who chose to temporarily avoid the edge of themselves and retreated not far away, the Death Knights had no intention of letting him go. Although the arm holding the giant sword was bounced up, their other hands were raised together and suddenly clenched. At the same time, countless green energy ripples suddenly appeared on the body of the Flame Demon Emperor, tightly entangled with it. From the outside, this seems to be a binding skill, but only the Fire Demon Emperor himself who was attacked can feel that no, for withered and dead breaths are invading his body in every possible way. The appearance of these 4 breaths did not have any signs, so the Fire Demon Emperor was helpless. Fortunately, after all, he was a mythical strongman. The Fire Demon Emperor's body quickly sprayed out a golden flame, dispersing those dark green energy ripples. However, the Fire Demon Emperor could feel that, although his response was timely, some of those withered and dead breaths had already invaded his body and caused it some damage. Yufei, who was paying attention to the battle situation in the Lava Kingdom through Illidan's perspective, focused his attention on the Fire Demon Emperor and naturally saw this scene. And he, without any surprise, recognized that the dark green energy attack suffered by the Fire Demon Emperor was the death coil of the Death Knight. The Fire Demon Emperor had a calm face, but his heart had already set off a huge wave. Could it be that the prophesied moment is coming soon? The dead have appeared. How far can destruction be? However, no matter how shocked it was, or what it was thinking, the heroes of the undead would not stop attacking. The 4 Death Knights had just used the death coil and lost their means of long-range attack. However, the skeleton war horses under their crotches all shook their hooves and rushed towards the Flame Demon Emperor. What arrived before the Death Knights were the attacks of other heroes. On the flat ground in front of the Flame Demon Emperor, spikes suddenly appeared and spread to his feet in a very short time. These spikes, which were only very short when they spread, suddenly rose up when they reached the Flame Demon Emperor's feet and bounced the Flame Demon Emperor up fiercely. The Flame Demon Emperor felt that his mind was suddenly blurred and fell into a state of dizziness. However, as a mythical strongman, it was quite resistant to this negative state and had already sobered up when it fell. Unfortunately, these spikes were not just one wave. As soon as the Flame Demon Emperor fell, another wave of spikes spread out and bounced high, knocking him into the air again, and at the same time he fell into a short state of dizziness. Similarly, when he fell again, the third wave of spikes arrived, and once again bounced the Flame Demon Emperor into the air. But this time he finally learned his lesson, and when he recovered from the dizziness and fell, he flew up and no longer stood on the ground. Looking at the spikes that bounced up again and rubbed against his feet, even though the Flame Demon Emperor was a scorching flame demon, he couldn't help but sweat. Then, he cast his angry eyes at the source of these spike attacks, the 4 beetle-like demon kings. Compared with the 4 death knights, the breath of these beetle-like demon kings did not feel like undead. But compared with the death knights who caused him some damage, the Flame Demon Emperor hated these beetle-like demon kings more. The spikes that bounced him back one after another really made him lose face. However, the attacks of the undead heroes were not just like this. Just as the Fire Demon Emperor cast his eyes on the 4 beetle-like demons, the Crypt Lords, 4 green energy waves had already flown in front of the Fire Demon Emperor. However, compared with the attacks of the Death Knights, the 4 swarms of rotten bees did not make the Fire Demon Emperor feel any threat, and its judgment was not wrong again. The fire curtain that had spent its strength to lay down was still able to easily resist the attacks of the Dreadlords. However, after dealing with the attacks of the Crypt Lords and the Dreadlords, the 4 Death Knights lined up in a row rushed to the Fire Demon Emperor again. Although the Fire Demon Emperor had already flown into the air, this did not pose a problem to the Death Knights who had already reached the epic level. During the charge, the front hooves of the skeleton warhorse no longer landed on the ground, but stepped in the air and flew up. Although there was no sound of horse hooves, the momentum of the 4 Death Knights' charge did not weaken at all, and the 4 giant swords emitting an icy breath also fell towards the Fire Demon Emperor. The Flame Demon Emperor was disdainful. Although the attacks of these undead spirits would cause him some damage, it was only a little. Moreover, didn't they see how fast he had just teleported from the center of the basin? Not wanting to be attacked by the aura of the undead spirits again, the Flame Demon Emperor immediately prepared to withdraw. However, a low murmur suddenly appeared in his ears. As soon as he heard the murmur, the Flame Demon Emperor felt a sense of distress. There's a problem. The Flame Demon Emperor shook his head, trying to get rid of this feeling of distress. However, the murmur soon turned into 4, echoing in his ears. It stands to reason that 4 sounds sounding at the same time would appear extremely chaotic, but to the Flame Demon Emperor, the rhythm of these 4 murmurs was extremely strange, not chaotic at all. On the contrary, they seemed to have the same origin and amplified each other. As the sound echoing in his ears became stronger and stronger, the Flame Demon Emperor finally couldn't resist the feeling of distress that emerged from the depths of his soul, and fell into sleep, and in front of him, there were 4 huge swords slashing down. Today is the 4th update. Chapter 508 Molten Realm. If the Dreadlord sleep skill is cast alone, it is indeed difficult to be effective against the mythical Flame Demon Emperor. But if 4 Dreadlords cast it together, the effect will be different. Even a strong man like the Flame Demon Emperor was hit and snored for thousands of years. But the next moment, it woke up, when the Death Knight's giant sword had already slashed at it. The sleeping state is different from being dizzy. As long as it is attacked, it will wake up. Clang. The sound of metal and stone clashing rang out, and the armor on the Flame Demon Emperor was still powerful, resisting the Death Knight's attack. The awakened Flame Demon Emperor was filled with anger, and he was not prepared to dodge anymore. Instead, he took advantage of the Death Knight's giant sword being bounced by his armor, and launched a counterattack. When the door was wide open, 4 red beams flew out from the Flame Demon Emperor's waist and hit the chests of the 4 unprepared Death Knights. Then, these beams turned into a net to bind them, making them unable to move at all. Humph, this is the 2nd time these undeads have offended me. I need to teach them a painful lesson. The Fire Lord decided to deal with the 4 Death Knights. However, neither the Death Knights, nor the Crypt Lords and the Dreadlords were actually the main force of the undead to deal with the Fire Lord this time. In anger, the Fire Lord ignored the 8 liches behind the Dreadlords and the Crypt Lords. Cultivate, the leader, didn't care when he found that the liches were ignored. He just grinned and showed a creepy smile. Then, he raised his hand, and an extremely cold breath gathered around the Fire Lord. The other 7 clone liches behind Cultivate were not willing to lag behind. After he made a move, they also cast Frost Nova. In an instant, 8 attacks with completely opposite attributes to the Fire Lord fell on his head. The Fire Lord, who was a little distracted and was thinking about how to deal with the 4 Death Knights, suddenly felt a warning in his heart. Just like the death coil before, the frost nova appeared without any sign. As soon as the flame demon emperor had a warning in his heart, he found that an attack stronger than the previous dark green energy waves had arrived. Unlike the death coil, which contained the breath of extracting vitality and withering and dead silence, the frost nova of the liches also contained the power of the dead, which was extremely dead and silent, but more of it was icy cold. As a flame demon, his body was full of fire energy surging. The flame demon emperor was extremely sensitive to attacks like frost nova, which had completely opposite attributes to his own. This sensitivity did not mean that he could detect and avoid it in advance, but that the damage he suffered would be deepened. 8 frost novas were superimposed on the flame demon emperor at the same time, and he felt a feeling he had never had before: cold. With the mythical strength of the flame demon emperor, even if he went to the ice purgatory, wherever he went, the ice and snow would melt and become a scorched earth. However, it suffered a great loss under the Lich team led by Kel'Thuzad, an epic and ultimate strongman. Under the unbelievable gaze of countless flame creatures, the flame demon emperor, the emperor of flames, was actually frozen. Although the ice on its body broke apart with a crackle after only 1 second, breaking free from the ice, it also shocked all the demons and flame creatures. Even the great demon King Murphy, who chose to wait and see, was shocked by the power displayed by the liches. Last time, more than 20 demon kings from the Naniuan alliance besieged the flame demon emperor together, but in the end they failed to cause any damage to it. Now, these demon kings from the undead demon realm only attacked for 2 or 3 rounds, and the great demon King Murphy could clearly feel that the breath of the flame demon emperor was a little weaker. What's more, there was the scene of 8 liches freezing the flame demon emperor. As a flame demon, it was actually frozen. This was the first time that the great demon King Murphy saw it. Moreover, this was not just an ordinary fire demon, but the strongest fire demon emperor in the demon world. The scene was really funny. The fire demon emperor was really furious, although he seemed to have no lungs. However, he did not act impulsively. The endless emergence of these heroes of the undead race and their slightly restrained means were enough for him to put them on the same level. He turned his head and saw that in the short time when he was just frozen, the 4 death knights bound by his flame chains had somehow broken free. The fire demon emperor did not see it, but the great devil Murphy who was watching saw it clearly. It was also the 8 liches who took action. The bound death knights appeared on the bodies of ice shields that rotated around them, and soon offset the flame energy emitted by the fire demon emperor, freeing the death knights from the fire net. The fire demon emperor who cracked the ice layer finally faced the undead heroes of different shapes. From the gaps in his crystal armor, golden lines of fire flowed out. These fire lines quickly spread out, covering a large area around. Domain skills. Illidan's eyes narrowed. Unexpectedly, this fire lord also possessed domain skills. Seeing the 20 heroes of the undead being wrapped in the flames, Illidan was extremely pessimistic about their prospects. Ha 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 ha, the fire lord laughed triumphantly. If Illidan hadn't bought him more than 10 days, he wouldn't have been able to recover to the point where he could use the domain. In his mind, once his molten realm was out, the overall situation was settled. However, just as the fire lord's molten realm was unfolded, it suddenly shook. Looking up in anger, 4 circular red marks appeared above the molten realm. Unlike Illidan's demonic realm, which had a clear barrier, the outer shell of the molten realm was colorless and only turned red when it was attacked by a powerful attack, which meant that the power of the barrier was gathered there for defense. What the Fire Lord saw through the molten realm were 4 huge stones burning with green flames. These were the hellfires summoned by the Dreadlords, but they were blocked by the molten realm's barrier when they were summoned, and they could not fall immediately. With a thought, the Fire Lord released the barrier and let the 4 hellfires fall into the molten realm. In its view, although those liches emitting a cold aura restrained it, as a mythical Fire Lord, it would never be afraid of any flames. Those 4 huge stones were obviously summoned creatures with epic strength. If they were left outside, they would cause great trouble to the troops of the Lava Kingdom. Therefore, the Fire Lord, who felt that he should not be afraid of these fire-attributed summons, took the initiative to put the 4 hellfires into the molten realm, which led to a situation where it was 1 against 24 in the molten realm. Bang! 4 huge rocks burning with green flames fell into the molten fire realm and soon stretched their bodies and stood up, and under the command of the Lord of Terror, they ran towards the Flame Demon Emperor. In the molten fire realm, the Flame Demon Emperor's body suddenly expanded and turned into a fireman about 50 meters tall. However, it can be seen that the Flame Demon Emperor's body is actually floating in the core of this 50-meter tall fireman. This fireman is just an energy body. Although the Hellfire is tall, it is not as big as the energy body of the Flame Demon Emperor. Moreover, in the molten fire realm, the progress of the Hellfire is extremely difficult. Some flame chains keep wrapping around them, hindering their impact. However, flames are not very effective for orc-like creatures like the Hellfire. They still pounced on the energy body of the Flame Demon Emperor and swung their fists to smash it. The Flame Demon Emperor did not defend himself at all, but opened his arms to meet the Hellfire that pounced on him. In its mind, the Hellfire looked magnificent, but they were fire creatures and certainly could not cause it any trouble. Unfortunately, the idea was beautiful, but the reality was cruel. The Flame Demon Emperor soon suffered a loss because of his own arrogance. The Hellfire pounced on the Flame Demon Emperor's energy body, and the green sacrificial flame on its body became more intense, even breaking the Flame Demon Emperor's energy body into 4 pieces. It's the 500th chapter. Please recommend and vote. Chapter 509, Little Flame Demon vs. Corrosion Beetle. When the Hellfire attacked him, the Flame Demon Emperor realized that not all flames in the world could be controlled or immune to them. At least, he could not be immune to the sacrificial flames on the Hellfire. After the Flame Demon Emperor's energy body was eroded by the sacrificial flames with different properties, the raging flames on his body were immediately defeated, and a huge wound was torn in each of the 4 Hellfire's attacks. The Flame Demon Emperor could clearly feel that the flames burning on the Hellfires looked like flames, but in fact they were a kind of energy similar to those of the dead spirits, which would burn all forces related to living beings. And it, although it was a mythical supreme being, could not escape the category of living beings. Therefore, the Flame Demon Emperor's energy body seemed to be vulnerable and was easily defeated by the Hellfire in several places. Fortunately, this was just the body of the Flame Demon Emperor made of the flames in the molten fire realm, and its main body was still hidden deep in the energy body and did not suffer any damage. The flame energy in the molten realm is endless, especially in this volcanic zone. Even if the energy in the area is consumed in large quantities, it can be quickly replenished from the outside world. Therefore, although the energy body of the Fire Emperor was torn into 4 pieces by the Hellfire, it was constantly repairing. Unfortunately, the enemies of the Fire Emperor in the Molten Realm are not just the 4 Hellfires. Just when it was surprised by the sacrificial flame, a flame that it had never seen before, and could hurt itself, and was trying to remedy it, other heroes of the undead began to make things worse. The Death Knight had just been freed from the shackles of the flame chain by the Lich with the frost armor, and was dragged into the Molten Realm again. Soothing the skeleton warhorse that was kicking its feet uncomfortably, the 4 Death Knights rushed towards the Fire Emperor again. While the Death Knight was charging, the foul swarm of the Dreadlord and the Frost Nova of the Lich had already arrived and landed on the energy body of the Fire Emperor. Under attack from the opposite energy attribute, the flames on the energy body of the Fire Demon Emperor suddenly dimmed. Even if the flames in the Molten Realm were constantly repairing, it was difficult to continue. The Fire Demon Emperor roared angrily. The more than 20 enemies this time were much more difficult to deal with than the more than 20 Demon Kings last time. It had already used its domain skills, but still failed to establish an advantage. However, if it wanted to bully its own small number, it would be absolutely impossible. The appearance of the Molten Realm was somewhat similar to Illidan's demon domain, except that one was filled with infinite black demonic auras, and the other was filled with endless flames. Amid the angry roar of the Fire Demon Emperor, the flames in the Molten Realm suddenly shrank, and gradually turned into dozens of pieces. These condensed flames soon became a head and feet appearance. Looking closely, they were exactly the same as the little fire demons summoned by the Fire Demon Emperor's previous summoning of fire demons. When dozens of little fire demons appeared in the Molten Realm, the power comparison between the Fire Demon Emperor and the undead heroes was reversed. Although those little fire demons were not epic level, they were all legendary under the blessing of the Molten Realm, and they were enough to contain many undead heroes. The Fire Demon Emperor thought that the appearance of these dozens of little fire demons would make the undead heroes flustered. But it had used this trick in the last war with the South Abyss Alliance, and the undead heroes were well prepared. The 4 Crypt Lords, who had each released a round of piercing skills to bounce the Fire Demon Emperor like a badminton several times, took action again after the appearance of the little fire demons. There was a rustling sound from the belly of the huge Crypt Lord. Soon, 10 smaller versions of the Crypt Lords, that is, the corrosive beetles, emerged from the stomachs of these 4 Crypt Lords. The strength of these corrosive beetles was not much different from that of the little fire demons, and more importantly, unlike the little fire demons that were summoned, the corrosive beetles existed forever, unless they were killed. Of course, in the Molten Realm, although the little fire demons will not split again, they can still exist, as long as the Molten Realm is not abolished. The dozens of little fire demons summoned by the Fire Demon Emperor to reverse the situation soon confronted the corrosion beetles. Although the number of little fire demons summoned by the Molten Realm is more than the corrosion beetles of the Crypt Lords, and their strength is also stronger, it is not enough to quickly eliminate the corrosion beetles. Moreover, the bulkier Crypt Lords did not participate in the attack on the Fire Demon Emperor's body, but fought against the little fire demons with their children. Therefore, the little fire demon troops and the Crypt Lords and their corrosion beetles were a half-catty scene for a while. He was anxious, but the Fire Demon Emperor had no way to quickly resolve the battle. What he was most worried about was the battle between the Nenean Alliance troops and the Lava Kingdom troops outside the Molten Realm. The Fire Demon Emperor thought that, as long as it appeared, it would be able to play a decisive role like the last time, quickly resolve the battle and defeat the Nenean Alliance. But it was unexpected that the strength and ability of the undead heroes were so strong and strange that they could contain it. Without the Flame Demon Emperor, the Lava Kingdom was not as good as the South Abyss Alliance in terms of high-end strength. Not every Demon King had the ability to fight 2 or more enemies at once. The epic flame creatures on the Lava Kingdom side were not much different from the Demon Kings on the South Abyss Alliance in terms of single strength. However, although they were similar in strength, the number of Demon Kings on the South Abyss Alliance was twice that of the epic flame creatures on the Lava Kingdom side. More importantly, there was also Murphy, who was known as the Great Demon King, who no one could contain. If the Lava Kingdom failed in the battle outside the Molten Fire Realm, then the Flame Demon Emperor would not be spared. The mythical strongmen were not real gods. Hundreds of thousands of demons and more than 40 Demon Kings were enough to easily stop it. Gritting his teeth, the Flame Demon Emperor was ruthless. The Molten Fire Realm moved with himself and the undead heroes, and soon involved more than a dozen unprepared South Abyss Alliance Demon Kings. It wants to put itself under more pressure in exchange for the victory of the Lava Kingdom on the battlefield. If the Lava Kingdom can win earlier on the battlefield, it can help it fight against the Demon King of the South Abyss Alliance and the heroes of the Undead. On the contrary, if it fails to hold on, and is defeated by the Demon King of the South Abyss Alliance and the heroes of the Undead in the Molten Fire Realm when the Lava Kingdom fails to win on the battlefield, then the Lava Kingdom will lose this war. With the existence of the Molten Fire Realm, the Flame Demon Emperor is still confident that he can hold on for a long time. In its opinion, there are only about 10 Demon Kings left in the South Abyss Alliance outside, which is almost the same as the number of epic flame creatures in the Lava Kingdom. As for ordinary soldiers, the Lava Kingdom with a steady stream of reinforcement is obviously not comparable to the South Abyss Alliance. Without the Demon King breaking the rules and participating in the battle of ordinary soldiers, the Lava Kingdom has a great advantage. However, when the Flame Demon Emperor found that there was no Great Demon King Murphy among the more than 10 Demon Kings of the South Abyss Alliance that he was involved in, his heart sank. Great Demon King Murphy was different from ordinary Demon Kings. As a Great Demon King, he could fight against 2 or even more ordinary Demon Kings alone. On the side of the Lava Kingdom, there was no epic level strongman who reached the level of Great Demon King Murphy. How could such a mistake happen? The Flame Demon Emperor regretted it secretly. However, there were already more than 30 enemies in the Molten Fire Realm. It had no time to consider other things. It could only fight hard and hope that the Lava Kingdom troops outside would not be affected by Great Demon King Murphy and win. At the same time, Great Demon King Murphy, who had retreated far away after the Flame Demon Emperor released the Molten Fire Realm, breathed a sigh of relief, and then his face was full of excitement. What the Flame Demon Emperor could consider, the Great Demon King Murphy could naturally consider as well. Therefore, it tried its best to avoid and did not participate in the siege of the Flame Demon Emperor. Now on the battlefield, it will be invincible and become a pivotal existence. The internet at home is disconnected, and I ran to the internet cafe to post it together with the 4th update. Chapter 510 Maintaining Balance. The battle in the Molten Realm was a stalemate. The little fire demons summoned by the Fire Demon Emperor were blocked by the Crypt Lords and the Corruption Beetles, while he himself was struggling to fight against the Lich, the Death Knight, the Dreadlord, and more than 10 Demon Lords of the South Abyss Alliance. Because the Lich and the Death Knight were more restrained by the Fire Demon Emperor in terms of attributes, and the advantage in numbers was more obvious, the Fire Demon Emperor was at a disadvantage even as a mythical level powerhouse. The situation outside the Molten Realm was the opposite. After the Fire Demon Emperor struggled to draw more than 10 Demon Lords of the South Abyss Alliance into the Molten Realm, the pressure on the Lava Kingdom was greatly reduced. Those epic flame creatures happened to be equal to the number of Demon Lords left in the South Abyss Alliance, and they could fight one-on-one. In terms of ordinary soldiers, the Lava Kingdom had a greater advantage. Although the South Abyss Alliance claimed to have an army of 800,000, when it set out, only 600,000 were left when it arrived at the volcanic basin. On the other hand, half of the residents of the Lava Kingdom have already rushed to the volcanic area to join the battle. Moreover, there are still many flame creatures, still dragging their bodies, that have not fully recovered to the volcanic area, to fight for the Lava Kingdom. The Lava Kingdom has 2 million residents, half of which is 1 million. This is already twice the number of the Naniuan Alliance. What's more, the Lava Kingdom also has special creatures such as the Flame Mountain, which has an obvious advantage. But all this is, when the Great Demon King Murphy does not participate in the battle. Although in the Demon Realm and the S-Laser world, the strong do not have the ability to fight against hundreds of thousands of troops alone. But if both sides are fighting with legions, an epic level strongman who is not restrained can play a role. That is not just the damage that can be caused. Seeing that the troops of the Naniuan Alliance were defeated by the Lava Kingdom, the Great Demon King Murphy did not hesitate and quickly rushed into the battle and began to wantonly wield quasi spells and venom. Although the toxic nova of the Great Demon King Murphy was easily evaporated by the Flame Demon Emperor before, it showed great power when facing ordinary flame creatures. It stands to reason that flame creatures whose bodies are either made of flames and magma, or directly made of rocks will not be harmed by venom. But the toxic nova of the Great Demon King Murphy is not only a poisonous damage, but also contains energy and strong corrosiveness, which makes the affected flame creatures melt like ice and snow encountering the scorching sun. The toxic nova is just one of the attack methods used by the Great Demon King Murphy. With multiple attributes, it also keeps throwing lightning chains and 30, while releasing the toxic nova, causing a lot of damage to the troops of the Lava Kingdom. In fact, even if the Great Demon King Murphy puts all his strength into it, he has no domain skills, and even if he exhausts all his energy, he can only kill tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of low-level flame creatures at most. Even if the Lava Kingdom has 200,000 or 300,000 fewer ordinary flame creatures, it is still more than the number of Naniuan Alliance troops. But the Great Demon King Murphy looked like he was unstoppable, which was a huge blow to the morale of the Lava Kingdom. Whenever the Lava Kingdom had an advantage on a small battlefield, the Great Demon King Murphy, who was keeping an eye on all directions and listening to all directions, would throw a poisonous star or other types of attacks to rescue the soldiers of the South Abyss Alliance. This happened many times, and the soldiers of the Lava Kingdom became restrained in fighting, and could not fully reflect the advantage of numbers. If no one had stopped the Great Demon King Murphy, then the Lava Kingdom would be like what the Fire Demon Emperor had speculated, and it would still be difficult to win even with the advantage of numbers. In the end, someone who stopped the Great Demon King Murphy appeared. The number of epic flame creatures on the Lava Kingdom and the remaining demons on the South Abyss Alliance was exactly equal, not just those who were fighting one-on-one, but also Aladdin and the Great Demon King Murphy. Of course, here, Illidan's identity is a Fire Demon King Gothmo, the most powerful person in the Lava Kingdom under the Fire Demon Emperor. If ordinary flame creatures and demon soldiers are a battle between soldiers, and epic flame creatures and the Demon King of the South Abyss Alliance are a battle between generals, then Illidan and the Great Demon King Murphy should be a battle between kings, although no one thinks that the Fire Demon Gosmo is a match for the Great Demon King Murphy. Although the name Gosmo is deeply hated by both the Demon King and the demon soldiers of the South Abyss Alliance, the impression they have given them is that this hateful fire demon is good at laying various traps and using conspiracies. No demon knows that the fire demon Gosmo is actually a mythical demon hunter. For some considerations, Illidan still doesn't want to reveal his identity until now. But he doesn't want the Lava Kingdom to fail like this, so he decided to take action. The Great Demon King Murphy is excitedly wielding various attacks, slaughtering ordinary flame creatures, and step by step raising the morale of the demon troops of the South Abyss Alliance. Even as a Great Demon King, the opportunity to casually slaughter tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of weak people is unprecedented. If it dared to do this in the Wuoan land, it would definitely cause public outrage, and soon become the target of thousands of people, and be surrounded and killed. Therefore, the murderous desire aroused the Great Demon King Murphy is now in an extremely excited state, not caring about the consumption of energy in his body, and never stopping the casting of various types of spells. This situation continued until his knee was hit by an arrow. No, it was his anus that was hit by a cannon. Just as the Great Demon King Murphy flew over a flaming mountain like a bomber, he suddenly felt his anus getting hot, and then a stream of blazing flames hit his buttocks fiercely. Hiss, the Great Demon King Murphy took a breath of cold air, and then he became furious. Covering his buttocks, he looked at the flaming mountain below with a vicious look. The existence of the flaming mountain has been seen by the Great Demon King Murphy in the last war of invading the Lava Kingdom. This special creature can play a great role in war, whether in terms of killing or providing endurance to the troops of the Lava Kingdom. But the Great Demon King Murphy didn't know that the Flame Mountain also had the ability to attack the air. Now that he looked carefully, the Great Demon King Murphy realized that the Flame Mountain under him was not some special creature, but a volcano that appeared at an unknown time. Gosmo. Staring at Illidan who flew out of the crater, the Great Demon King Murphy burst out these three words from his teeth. Whether in the last war or in this war, Illidan brought huge losses to the Naniuan Alliance. In particular, Illidan's various traps and wolf-crying tactics made many demon kings of the Naniuan Alliance become nervous. For the fire demon Gosmo, the Great Demon King Murphy also had great hatred for the other demon kings. Coupled with the current pain of ***, the new and old hatreds added together, the Great Demon King Murphy immediately gave up continuing to slaughter ordinary flame creatures, and instead faced Illidan. The volcano that the Great Demon King Murphy saw as the Flame Mountain was naturally the volcano summoned by Illidan using the fire demon's innate ability. Because he didn't want to expose his true strength, the eruption of the volcano didn't cause any harm to the Great Demon Lord Murphy. At most, it was a shame for him to be beaten. However, Illidan's goal had been achieved, to anger the Great Demon Lord Murphy, so that he would no longer slaughter ordinary fire creatures, but fight against himself. As the behind-the-scenes promoter, what Illidan had to do was to maintain the balance. The Fire Demon King was at a disadvantage in the Molten Realm, so the battle of the large forces outside the Molten Realm would not allow the South Abyss Alliance to gain an advantage. The Great Demon Lord Murphy certainly knew that, if he entangled with Gosmo, the South Abyss Alliance would no longer have an advantage. But in his mind, as a Great Demon King at the peak of the epic level, it wouldn't take much effort to solve a previously unknown epic fire demon, and it wouldn't cost him this little time. Little did he know that, if he thought like this, he would be completely led by Illidan. Facing the Great Demon Lord Murphy, Illidan still didn't show his full strength, but always appeared in a posture slightly weaker than the Great Demon Lord Murphy, as if he would be defeated at any time. Today, I have completed 10,000 words. Please give me a monthly ticket. Chapter 511 Murphy and Cosmo. Demon King Murphy thought that he could quickly defeat, or even kill the fire demon Gothmo who was causing trouble for the entire Naniuan Alliance. Even after fighting with Illidan for a few times, he still believed it. because as soon as the two sides came into contact, Demon King Murphy realized that Illidan's strength was far inferior to his. Although he could resist his attack a little, it seemed very reluctant. But after a minute, Demon King Murphy finally realized that something was wrong. Under his hands, Illidan still looked very suppressed, as if he could be defeated at any time, but in fact he was always trying to support himself, but had not been defeated. No longer paying attention to observe the situation in other places, Demon King Murphy only focused his mind at this time, and began to seriously devote himself to the battle with Illidan. However, the more he fought with Illidan, the more frightened Demon King Murphy felt. Whether it was using its signature skill, Poison Nova, or using lightning chains, charged bullets and other attack methods, Illidan would calmly spit out a mouthful of flames, turning its attacks into nothingness. Although on the surface, the great Demon King Murphy had always been in control of the battle, and kept attacking Illidan. In fact, the great Demon King Murphy was just wasting energy in vain. What was going on? The Fire Demon Emperor was so powerful, but how could this fire demon who had never been heard of half a year ago, and came out of nowhere, have the same strength as himself? After all, he was a strong man with the title of Great Demon King. Although Illidan pretended to be clumsy and difficult, the great Demon King Murphy still realized that this Gosmo, who had not been taken seriously by him before, was far more powerful than ordinary demon kings. The attacks on his hands continued, but the great Demon King Murphy secretly complained in his heart. I thought I was quick to see the opportunity, and avoided some of my demon kings in time when the Flame Demon Emperor dragged them into the domain, so that I could make great achievements on the battlefield outside. Who would have thought that this hateful flame demon Gosmo was not only the second person in the Lava Kingdom in terms of identity, but also strong enough to match this status. Now, the great Demon King Murphy is in a dilemma. In his heart, he knows that, although he seems to be suppressing the flame demon on the opposite side, he is actually wasting energy. Perhaps, after most of the power in his body is consumed by the huge attack of various sound and light effects, Gosmo's sharp counter-attack will come immediately. But even if he clearly knows this possibility, the great Demon King Murphy can't stop at this time or even just change his fighting style. As mentioned before, even an epic peak Demon King can hardly do much with his own strength in a war of millions of people. But the existence of a strong man who is not restrained in the team can greatly improve the morale of his own side. Like now, Illidan's transformed fire demon Gosmo is the highest ranking one on the battlefield of the Lava Kingdom, while the great demon Lord Murphy is the highest ranking one on the Naniuan Alliance. Ordinary flame creatures and demon soldiers do not have much vision, and can see that Illidan's strength is actually no less than that of the great demon Lord Murphy. All they can see is that the great demon Lord Murphy's various powerful attacks almost overwhelmed Illidan, and Illidan could only barely resist with great difficulty. This scene is naturally a scene that can greatly boost the morale of the demon soldiers on the Naniuan Alliance side. This is like the ancient wars in China, where there is always a saying of fighting in front of the battle. If one side wins the battle, the soldiers of that side will often burst out with stronger combat power. The Naniuan Alliance troops were able to fight the Lava Kingdom troops with a smaller number at this time. In addition to the previous situation, when the Naniuan Alliance demons had an advantage in number and the great demon Lord Murphy just killed a large number of flame creatures without scruples, it was more because the Naniuan Alliance had an advantage in the battle at the leadership level of both sides. The situation in the Molten Fire Realm was not visible to ordinary demon soldiers, but before the Flame Demon Emperor used this domain skill, the strength displayed by the undead heroes was clearly visible to everyone. Ordinary demon soldiers can also make this account clear. Ordinary demon kings can't even defeat 10 legendary demons of a lower level than themselves. Now there are more than 30 demon kings besieging the Flame Demon Emperor, and there is absolutely no reason to fail. However, this is just speculation. Although they have great confidence in their own strong men, they can't see it after all. No demon except those demon kings can see the battle in the Molten Fire Realm clearly. Moreover, the demon soldiers on the side of the South Abyss Alliance are confident, and so are the flame creatures of the Lava Kingdom. The Flame Demon Emperor can be said to be the god in the hearts of the residents of the Lava Kingdom. In their view, even if more than 30 demon kings besiege their gods, they can't pose any threat to their gods. In this way, the ordinary soldiers on both sides can't see the battle in the molten fire realm clearly, but they all have confidence in their own strong men, which can be regarded as a mutual offset. The battle outside the molten realm was clearly visible to soldiers on both sides. Even the new demon recruits who had recently joined the war had heard the name of Gosmo through the bitter condemnation of the veterans. Now that this extremely hateful guy had been beaten so badly by the great demon Lord Murphy, the demon soldiers on the Nenean Alliance felt relieved, and even felt a little stronger. Demon Lord Murphy also knew clearly that he could inspire his soldiers by pretending to suppress Illidan and improve their combat effectiveness in disguise. Therefore, although he was always alert to Illidan's possible counter-attack at any time, he had to waste energy all the time. What surprised Demon Lord Murphy was that during the fight, he could sense that Gosmo was obviously as powerful as himself, but he kept holding back and allowed himself to be suppressed. Didn't he know that this would affect the morale of his soldiers? Illidan certainly knew. If he showed his true strength, even if he didn't reveal his identity as a demon hunter, with this familiar body of the fire demon and the mythical combat consciousness, he would be able to defeat the great demon Lord Murphy. But if he did so, the Nenean Alliance would fail again in this war. Illidan knew that the Fire Demon Emperor dragged more than a dozen demon kings and those undead heroes into the Molten Realm, hoping that the war group outside would win, and then help it. And if the Fire Demon Emperor's wish was really fulfilled, Illidan would not be able to achieve his goal. Illidan would not forget that his primary purpose in coming to this demon world was always to obtain the Heart of Darkness. The Fire Demon Emperor seemed to know the news about the Heart of Darkness, but he didn't even let out the Fire Demon Gothmo, who had gained his trust and became the second in command of the Lava Kingdom. From this, there is reason to infer that, even if Illidan has always maintained the identity of Gothmo, no matter how much the Fire Demon Emperor trusts him, he will not reveal the situation about the Heart of Darkness. Then, Illidan can only think of other ways. He didn't believe that the Fire Lord would keep the secret when facing a desperate situation. And to put the Fire Lord into a desperate situation, naturally, the Lava Kingdom's troops could not be allowed to defeat the Nenean Alliance troops and help it. Illidan's move was just to maintain the balance, so that the battlefield, like a meat grinder, could digest or consume more demons and flame creatures. He also did not forget that consuming the overall strength of the demon world was also one of his purposes for sneaking into the Lava Kingdom. Illidan did not want to be suppressed by the great demon Lord Murphy all the time. He was just waiting for an opportunity, and this opportunity seemed to be coming. In the Molten Realm, the battle between the Fire Lord, the Nenean Alliance Demon Lord and the Undead Hero was in full swing. Even if there were more than 30 enemies, the Fire Lord was still not afraid. Although the skills of the undead heroes were weird, there were only a few of them. After the Fire Lord adapted, he would no longer be as listed as he was at the beginning. As for the dozen or so demon kings, their threat level was not as great as that of the undead heroes, and they were almost all ignored by it. Chapter 512 Multiple Deaths and Decay. To be honest, among the undead heroes, only the Death Knight and the Lich can actually cause damage to the Fire Lord, because of their strength attributes. The role that the Crypt Lord and the Dread Lord can play is just to control him for a short time with the two skills of piercing and sleeping. In the Molten Realm, the Fire Lord has built a huge energy body. Whether it is the piercing of the Crypt Lord or the sleep of the Dread Lord, they cannot act on the Fire Lord's body, so naturally they can no longer control him. The 4 Dread Lords are fine, at least they still have their answer be Swarm, a long-range attack method with a short cooldown time. The hellfire they summoned also caused a lot of trouble to the Fire Lord. The Crypt Lords can only deal with those little Fire Lords together with their own corrosion beetles. To be honest, the corrosion beetles summoned by the Crypt Lords are not as strong as the little Fire Lords summoned by the Fire Lord. In addition to the difference in the strength of the summoners, the environment in the Molten Realm is also an important factor. In the Molten Realm, although the little Fire Lords cannot be split, their strength is more blazing. However, the corrosion beetle's burrowing skill could not be used in the Molten Realm of Fire, which was full of flames. Thus, one of its means was lost. As one thing grew stronger, the other weaker. If the 4 Crypt Lords had not also participated in the battle with the little fire demon, their corrosion beetles would have been roasted by the little fire demon. Even seeing that those strange insects were no match for the little fire demon he summoned, the fire demon emperor actually separated some of the little fire demons to contain the demon king of the South Abyss Alliance, who was later involved in the Molten Realm, which relieved him of a lot of pressure. Kil'Thuzad's expression remained unchanged. These so-called allies were really two pitfalls, and they played no role in the battle with the fire demon emperor. Fortunately, it had not originally counted on the demon king of the South Abyss Alliance. The order given to it by its master was to let the heroes of the undead kill the fire demon emperor personally. Kil'Thuzad casually blasted out another frost nova, dimming the flames in the molten realm. He was thinking about what to do next. The strength of the Fire Lord was beyond its expectation. The heroes of the undead, with their few but extremely practical skills, could easily rival the demon kings who were more powerful than themselves. Just like these clones of Death Knights and Liches that had just been promoted to the 7th level of heroism and barely reached the epic level. If they really had to fight against the demon kings of the middle and late epic levels, they would definitely not be the ones to fail. However, the Fire Lord actually possessed a domain skill like Molten Realm, which Kil'Thuzad had not known before. Thinking of this, it could not help but despise its nominal ally, the Naniuan Alliance, for such important news had not been learned in the last war. Now it seemed that the Death Knight's charge and the Frost Nova of the 8 Liches could not cause fatal damage to the Fire Lord. Kil'Thuzad could feel that, although the Death Knight's great sword with the power of the dead and the occasional death coil, as well as the Frost Nova of the Lich attribute that restrained the Fire Lord, would temporarily weaken the Fire Lord's aura every time it hit the opponent, it would soon recover. After all, the Lava Kingdom is the Fire Lord's home ground. Opening the Molten Realm here is like Illidan having endless demonic aura to maintain the Demon Realm. If the Fire Lord cannot be eliminated with destructive power in a short period of time, the Fire Lord is almost invincible. Destructive power. We just happen to have it. Kil'Thuzad raised his head and looked at the Fire Lord, who was waving endless flames and seemed extremely powerful and showed a creepy smile. Although the Fire Lord's Molten Realm has the advantage of super endurance, the Fire Lord's use of it is obviously not as delicate as using the Demon Realm. Like Illidan, after reaching the mythical level, he almost merged with the Demon Realm. If he opened the Demon Realm, Illidan could appear in any corner at any time in the realm and attack the enemy at impossible angles. But the Fire Lord couldn't do that. What he could do, in addition to using almost endless energy to summon small Fire Lords with no time limit in the Molten Realm, was to form a huge energy body that would not be destroyed to fight. The Fire Lord was surrounded by 4 Hellfires and 4 Death Knights walking in the air. The feeling of the Lich's Frost Nova hitting the Fire Lord made him extremely disgusted. The cold feeling that penetrated into the energy body and spread to his body was what a fire creature like him hated the most. But neither the Hellfire nor the Death Knight was an easy opponent. Whether it was the sacrificial flame of the Hellfire, or the necromancy energy and death coil attached to each hit of the Death Knight, they could cause some damage to the Fire Lord. Therefore, he could only deal with these 8 guys, and could not break through their siege to find trouble with the Lich. At most, he could control the flame energy in the Molten Realm to burn the Liches, but under the protection of the frost armor that never stopped on the Liches, these flames could only return in vain. The only thing the Fire Lord could count on was that the Hellfires, that were obviously summoned, would disappear after the summoning time limit was reached. In this case, the 4 Death Knights alone would not be able to trap him. At that time, the Fire Lord could go and find trouble with those hateful Liches. However, suddenly, the Fire Lord felt something was wrong. Those extremely annoying ice attribute attacks hadn't appeared for a while. The Fire Lord was alert. The Frost Nova cast by the Lich is the main way for the undead heroes to weaken it, and there is no reason to stop it casually. As for the energy, mana, of those Liches being consumed, the Fire Lord would not believe it. He did think before that those ice attribute attacks that were obviously spell-like would consume energy. And with the entire Molten Kingdom as a backing, he would not be afraid of the energy competition. But the energy of those Liches seemed endless. It clearly sensed that after suffering several rounds of ice attribute attacks, those Liches should no longer have the energy to cast spells, but they became lively again, after digesting a beetle each in a strange way. There is a conspiracy. The Fire Lord could easily sense everything in the Molten Realm. After shifting his attention to the 8 liches that stopped casting Frost Nova, the Fire Lord was horrified. The 8 liches, led by Cultivate, were surging with extremely huge and obscure energy. From it, the Fire Lord felt a thorough breath of death. This breath of death made it feel more uncomfortable than the death coil of the Death Knight. Before the Fire Lord could make any move, the 8 liches had already released their ultimate move, Death and Decay. Originally, Death and Decay did not require preparation time. As a natural ability, it was as easy for liches to cast this ultimate skill as to cast Frost Nova. It could be activated with a thought. In this way, the Fire Lord would not find anything wrong. But Cultivate knew that the Death and Decay activated in such a hurry could not actually achieve a fatal blow to the Fire Lord, a mythical strongman. Except for Cultivate, the other cloned liches were only level 7. The Fire Lord was equivalent to a level 10 hero. With such a large level difference, if the liches cast Death and Decay separately, the Fire Lord's resistance was enough to withstand such an attack. So, under the auspices of Cultivate, the 8 liches connected their power together. They were originally of the same origin, and they were created from the altar, and it was easy for them to achieve a fit, and a multiple Death and Decay appeared. The Fire Lord suddenly found that there were countless purple-black lights around him. These lights kept flashing in a huge range, looking extremely gorgeous. However, the Fire Demon Emperor had no mind to watch this beautiful scene, because he felt a fatal danger from the purple-black light. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 513 Locust Swarm. Death and Decay is a skill that can cause percentage damage. It contains the purest and most terrifying death power. This extreme death power can not only cause great damage to living beings, but even dead objects such as buildings will completely wither under Death and Decay. Of course, the 8 layers of Death and Decay stacked together do not mean that the percentage damage caused is multiplied by 8. In that case, if dozens of liches cast Death and Decay together, they can easily kill the enemy in seconds. If there is no resonance, and simply 8 liches cast Death and Decay on an area at the same time, the death power can only expand the range of the skill after interfering with each other, and the power cannot be increased much. Even with the guidance of Cultivate, the genuine lich, the 8 Death and Decay stacked together only cause 10% damage per second. This is the effect that can be achieved when facing enemies of the same level. When facing the mythical Fire Emperor, even if 8 layers of Death and Decay are stacked, the effect will be weakened. But even so, feeling the life force in his body rapidly draining away like a dam with the gates opened, the Flame Demon Emperor was full of fear. Before, whether it was the death coil of the Death Knight or the Frost Nova of the Lich, although they could cause some damage to the Flame Demon Emperor, it was only a minor injury at most. With the help of external energy, the Flame Demon Emperor was able to recover quickly. But this time, when he suffered the effects of multiple Death and Decay, it was completely different. The dead spirits are opposite to the living spirits, and the power of death is also corresponding to the vitality, not the fire energy, that the Flame Demon Emperor is good at using. If possible, the Flame Demon Emperor really wanted to use the loss of his own power to replace the loss of vitality, but this was impossible. Even if the effect of Death and Decay was reduced due to the difference in rank, the Flame Demon Emperor lost a lot of vitality in just a few seconds. It should be noted that when facing a stronger opponent, the effect of this superimposed Death and Decay will be weakened. Correspondingly, when facing a weaker opponent, the effect of multiple Death and Decay will be enhanced. This is different from a simple lich casting this skill. If this multiple Death and Decay is cast on the heads of those flame creatures that are generally only bronze and silver level, then it is very likely that they will lose 100% of their vitality every second. That is, instant kill, large scale instant kill. However, the Flame Demon Emperor did not have time to think about these things at this time. After a moment of distraction, he found that his vitality had been lost by 1/10. Raw. The Flame Demon Emperor exploded. It was the first time in such a long time that it felt the coming of death. These unprecedented purple black lights were too overbearing. If they stayed in the coverage area of this purple black light for half a minute, the Flame Demon Emperor, a mythical level strongman, would also die. Using his power, the Flame Demon Emperor directly detonated the energy body that he had spent a lot of effort to condense. This huge body, which was 50 meters high, was detonated just like that. The power it released was so strong that even within the range of death and decay, the flashing purple black light stagnated for a moment. Taking advantage of this sudden explosion, the main body of the Fire Demon Emperor flew out from the bursting energy body, trying to rush out of the area covered by death and decay. However, death and decay under multiple resonances were not that simple. With the overlap of 8 skills, this death and decay already carried a certain domain nature. Even if the Fire Demon Emperor detonated his energy body to escape from danger, he still couldn't rush out in the first time. The Fire Demon Emperor, who was flying outward with the explosion of his energy body as a driving force, felt as if his whole body was glued. In the end, although it still rushed out of the range of death and decay in a panic, it was delayed for another 4 or 5 seconds. And at this time, the 4 or 5 seconds, converted into a terrible loss of vitality, is 20%. In other words, when Kilthus had put down this round of death and decay, the Fire Demon Emperor lost 1/3 of his life. But even so, Kilthus had still seemed a little dissatisfied. As a mythical level, the Fire Lord's combat experience, reaction speed and decisiveness were too outstanding. Kilthus had thought that this feast of multiple death and decay would cost him half his life. Indeed, if the Fire Lord had not quickly discovered that this terrifying skill had a range, rather than a targeted skill like the previous Death Coil Frost Nova, and decisively gave up the energy body that relied on to fight the 4 Hellfires and 4 Death Knights, the damage would have been even greater. But even so, the battle situation in the Molten Realm had a clear reversal at this moment. The Fire Lord's vitality disappeared by 1/3, which was reflected in the situation in the Molten Realm, that the little Fire Lords who were fighting the South Abyss Alliance Demon King, or the Corrosion Beetle also suddenly collapsed by 1/3. At the same time, the flames in the Molten Realm also changed from the original blazing appearance to weak. The disappearance of the little Fire Lord did not mean that the Fire Lord was short of energy. Even if he suffered a huge amount of damage, controlling fire energy was the innate ability of the Fire Demon Emperor. Until now, the outside world is still replenishing energy to the molten world. The reason why 1/3 of the little fire demons collapsed was because the death and decay caused the Fire Demon Emperor's soul to be traumatized, which reduced the number of summons he could control by 1/3. This kind of soul trauma is one of the manifestations of the loss of original vitality. The disappearance of 1/3 of the little fire demons means that the Demon Kings or Crypt Lords of the South Abyss Alliance who were fighting with these little fire demons have been relieved. Originally, after some corrosive beetles were transformed by liches with insufficient magic points, the little fire demons seemed to suppress the reduced number of enemies with great momentum. Now that they have lost more, those Demon Kings and Crypt Lords are naturally beating the fallen dogs and breathing a sigh of relief. It would be fine if it was just like this. After all, the Molten World is the home ground of the Fire Demon Emperor. It can still hold on with all its strength. But Kilthus's means are not just the multiple death and decay, it is a set of combined punches. At some point, the 4 Crypt Lords stop fighting with the small flame demons, whose number had been reduced by 1/3. Instead, they lay on the ground one by one, each spreading the insect wings on their backs. From under the insect wings, opened by these Crypt Lords, countless tiny mosquitoes flew up in a hazy haze, making a buzzing sound, and began to spread in all directions. This is the ultimate skill of heroes like the Crypt Lords, the Locust Swarm. Those flying mosquitoes are not real mosquitoes or locusts, but energy bodies constructed by the Crypt Lords. Therefore, even in the molten fire realm with flames everywhere, these mosquitoes will not be incinerated. Seeing this scene, the Flame Demon Emperor thought that those tiny insects were a powerful means of attack and would attack him together. But unlike what he thought, the Locust Swarm under the control of the Crypt Lords did not attack the Flame Demon Emperor. The 4 Crypt Lords did not gather together, but occupied a corner of the molten fire realm respectively. The mosquitoes that flew out from their wings and spread out would soon touch the molten fire realm's barrier. In fact, the Crypt Lord's ultimate skill, the Locust Swarm, can barely be regarded as a domain type skill, but there is no definite barrier. The range of the Locust Swarm's activity attack is centered on the Crypt Lord himself. Although it is not a regular domain type skill, it does not prevent the Locust Swarm from eroding the Molten Fire Realm. The mosquitoes that pounced on the Molten Fire Realm's boundary energy barrier were not burned to ashes immediately, but began to bite the barrier fiercely. Even though these slightly fragile mosquitoes would be wiped out after a bite, the mosquitoes that flew out from the Crypt Lord's wings seemed endless. Soon, the Flame Demon Emperor felt that his domain, the Molten Fire Realm, had become unstable and even began to shake slightly. Chapter 514, Molten Realm Collapse. Sensing the instability of the Molten Fire Realm, the Flame Demon Emperor was immediately shocked. Although he had taken the initiative to detonate his energy body and escaped from the area covered by the death energy, this did not mean that the Molten Fire Realm was useless. With the endless supply of energy, it would only take a while for the Flame Demon Emperor to condense an energy body that was exactly the same as before. By then, the outcome of the battle with these strange demon kings was still unknown, because just now, the Flame Demon Emperor found that the 4 stone men with green flames all over their bodies had turned into a pile of stubborn stones and scattered on the ground. But if the Molten Fire Realm was broken like this, the Flame Demon Emperor would not have the confidence to fight these undead heroes who had already been marked with the symbol of terror in his mind. After all, he was fighting against 20 or even 30 people alone. With this thought in mind, the Flame Demon Emperor hurriedly tried to stabilize the Molten Fire Realm. The originally transparent barrier suddenly appeared and turned into a bright red. The locusts that attacked the barrier were burned to death and fell down like dumplings. After the efforts of the Fire Lord, the Molten Realm finally stopped shaking and stopped its disintegration. However, the Fire Lord was alone and had no way to distract himself. Putting his energy into stabilizing the Molten Realm meant that he relaxed his own defense. The undead heroes would naturally not miss this great opportunity. While the Fire Lord was distracted, the 4 Death Knights once again charged at him who had just escaped the coverage of the Death Decay. This time, the Fire Lord did not have an energy body as a shell. Before, when the Death Decay descended, it would also affect these 4 Death Knights. But compared to the deliberate restraint of the Fire Lord, Kilthus had slightly controlled the 4 Death Knights and did not let them fall into it. In addition, they each used Death Coil to restore each other's vitality, so they were able to escape the coverage of death and decay without any damage, which was much better than the embarrassed Fire Lord. The 4 Hellfires were not so lucky. Although the Hellfires have magic immunity, the skill of death and decay ignores magic immunity, not to mention multiple death and decay. Therefore, before the summoning time limit came, the 4 Hellfires died in the line of duty. When the Death Knight launched the charge, the Liches also stopped maintaining death and decay. The Fire Lord had already escaped the coverage of death and decay, so it was meaningless to continue to maintain this skill. Raising their hands together, the 8 Liches skillfully cast Frost Nova. No, not 8. Although Kilthus had raised his hands to cast skills with the other Liches, the skill he cast was not Frost Nova, and the target of the skill was not the Fire Lord who was trying his best to maintain the stability of the Molten Realm. A long energy column made of white ice slag flew towards the group of little fire demons that were still entangled with the Demon King of the South Abyss Alliance and the Corrosion Beetle. When this extremely cold snow-white energy column touched a little fire demon, it instantly froze. The little fire demon condensed from magma into an ice sculpture. Through the crystal clear ice layer, you can see that the little fire demon in the ice layer has turned into a deep black, the color of completely solidified magma. And this terrifying freezing happened in less than half a second. The little fire demon that was burning with flames half a second ago looked even worse than ordinary water, and was frozen to death. On Earth, there is a problem that even experts have not been able to explain clearly. If a cup of hot water and a cup of cold water are put into the refrigerator at the same time, the hot water will freeze first. This seems to be reflected in the little fire demon. If the snow-white energy column has only this effect and kills a little fire demon, then there is nothing to praise, and it can even be said to be a waste. Such a skill might as well be cast on the Fire Demon Emperor. Obviously, as the most powerful Lich, the skill that Kilthus had cast could not be just that simple. On the little fire demon that had turned into an ice sculpture, an identical snow white energy column suddenly ejected, bombarding another little fire demon not far from it. Similarly, this little fire demon was also frozen in an instant, and another energy column ejected, bombarding the next little fire demon. In this way, this snow white energy column ejected more than a dozen times in a row, turning more than a dozen little fire demons into ice sculptures. At this time, there were only a dozen little fire demons left, and the corrosive beetles alone could resist, or even destroy them. Looking at the dozen or so demon kings of the South Abyss Alliance who pounced fiercely on the fire demon emperor, Cultivate showed a satisfied smile. Finally, he did not live up to his chain frost, and with these dozen demon kings, the fire demon emperor was dead. Unlike those hero copies that can be called defective products, the genuine Lich Cultivate has more than just 4 skills. For example, this chain frost is an ability that is different from other liches, because the main advantage of this skill is that it can be ricocheted between enemy units. Cultivate chose to cast it on the group of small fire demons, killing more than a dozen small fire demons in one fell swoop, and freeing the demon kings of the Southern Abyss Alliance in the Molten Realm. If this skill is given to the fire demon emperor, it will only make him suffer ice damage that is slightly stronger than the frost nova. Although he is busy maintaining the balance of the Molten Realm, this cannot occupy all of the fire demon emperor's mind. Looking at the 4 death knights who attacked, and the dozen demon kings following them, the fire demon emperor sighed, and gave up the action of maintaining the Molten Realm. The Molten Realm collapsed, and the fire demon emperor would not be defeated immediately, but if he just ignored the attacks of those demon kings, he would die at this moment. Although the black crystal-like armor on the fire demon emperor's body is strong, it is not enough to ignore the attacks of more than 20 epic level strongmen without infusing energy. Seeing the Fire Lord giving up on maintaining the Molten Realm, Cultivate smiled and secretly gave orders. 4 death knights who were charging towards the Fire Lord suddenly changed direction midway, quickly came to the barrier being eaten by the locusts, and chopped it down fiercely. The dozen or so demon kings of the South Abyss Alliance were stunned, but did not follow the death knights to attack the Molten Realm barrier, but continued to attack the Fire Lord. These demon kings are all smart people. It is enough to break the barrier with the demon kings of the Undead realm. It is better for them to contain the Fire Lord. Otherwise, who knows if this powerful person who has been in the demon world for thousands of years will have any backup. Speaking of which, the various strange abilities of the undead heroes not only caused great trouble to the Fire Lord, but also opened the eyes of the demon kings of the South Abyss Alliance. Many demon kings thought to themselves that, if they were faced with those strange skills, they might not be able to cope with them like the Flame Demon Emperor. If they were still in a hard battle just now, these demon kings of the South Abyss Alliance would only be happy that their allies had such powerful strength, because it meant that they were more confident in defeating the Flame Demon Emperor. But now that the overall situation seems to be settled, these demon kings unconsciously have other ideas in their hearts. These demon kings from the undead demon realm, which they had never heard of before, suddenly participated in the war against the Lava Kingdom. Do they have any purpose? After killing the Flame Demon Emperor and destroying the Lava Kingdom, should they do something else? After all, the Flame Demon Emperor has not been resolved, so the Demon Kings of the South Abyss Alliance have temporarily suppressed some other thoughts. After all, the undead heroes are still their allies, and the person in charge of the South Abyss Alliance is the great Demon King Murphy instead of these ordinary Demon Kings, so they don't need to consider the situation after the war. Hoo-la la, a sound like glass breaking rang out, and the Molten Realm was shattered by the bites of the 4 Crypt Lord Locusts and the slashes of the Death Knights. 10,000 words are completed today. Please recommend and vote for the monthly ticket. Chapter 515, The End of the Great Emperor. With a flash of fire, the dozen or so demon kings that had rushed towards the Fire Demon Emperor flew backwards. Even if the Molten Realm was broken, the Fire Demon Emperor was not someone that these mediocre demon kings could bully. On the contrary, after completely giving up the energy spent on maintaining the Molten Realm, the Fire Demon Emperor's individual combat power was even stronger. However, without the Molten Realm, the Fire Demon Emperor's home advantage was only half gone. Its so-called endless energy also needed the Molten Realm to transform and utilize. Now that 1/3 of its vitality had been lost, and the Molten Realm had collapsed, the Fire Demon Emperor could only face the various attacks of the undead heroes and the Demon Kings of the South Abyss Alliance alone, without any means of buffering. Apart from anything else, the little fire demons that relied on the Molten Realm for their existence naturally disappeared after it collapsed. This alone made the Fire Demon Emperor's situation extremely bad. Looking around, seeing Illidan entangled with the great Demon King Murphy, the Fire Demon Emperor showed a trace of relief on his face. But looking at the heroes of the Undead clan and the dozen or so Demon Kings of the South Abyss Alliance that had surrounded him, he could only let out a long sigh of resentment. Logically speaking, the Flame Demon Emperor was able to overpower the Abyssless Land 1,000 years ago, and it was ultimately defeated by the combined forces of all the demonic forces of the Abyssless Land, so he would not be in such a situation now. In the final battle of that year, although some parts of the Abyssless Land had already fallen, that is, the area where the South Abyss Alliance is now located, it still gathered more than 70 Demon Kings, including the great Demon King Dire, who was infinitely close to the mythical level. Even in such a battle, the Flame Demon Emperor was defeated, but he still survived and returned to the Lava Kingdom to fall asleep. But now, facing only the South Abyss Alliance and the Undead clan heroes, who totaled less than 50 Demon Kings, the Flame Demon Emperor felt that he really could not escape this time. In fact, you can understand it, if you think about it. Although the Abyssless Land dispatched more than 70 Demon Kings, the Lava Kingdom was not a pushover. At that time, there were no less than 30 epic masters in the Lava Kingdom. With this offset, the Fire Demon Emperor actually faced only about 40 Demon Kings in the battle that year. And the Fire Demon Emperor at that time was not forced to wake up from his slumber like now and immediately experience 2 wars, but was a mythical master at his peak. In fact, from the Molten Realm that the Fire Demon Emperor just barely used, Illidan found that in fact, if the Fire Demon Emperor was in his prime, his strength would be stronger than him. Apart from other things, at least in the field, although Illidan's manipulation is more sophisticated, it cannot have almost endless energy like the Molten Realm. After all, in terms of level, although they are both mythical masters, the Fire Demon Emperor is probably equivalent to the 10th level of the hero level, while Illidan has only entered the 9th level not long ago. Regarding the current situation of the Fire Demon Emperor, Yuffie, who has been watching the battle, couldn't help but flash a cliché in his mind. A dragon swimming in shallow water is played by shrimps, and a tiger in plain water is bullied by dogs. Since the Flame Demon Emperor was defeated and fell into a deep sleep 1,000 years ago, the forces of the Wuhan Land did not kill them all because of the armistice agreement at that time, and because they themselves were also seriously damaged. After they gradually recovered, the demon forces that were originally connected, only because of the pressure of the Lava Kingdom, no longer had the idea of pursuing the Lava Kingdom. However, almost all demon cities maintained a tacit understanding to restrict the development of the Lava Kingdom. Under various measures, whether explicit or implicit, the Lava Kingdom has not been able to recover, let alone develop. This is also the reason why the creatures of the Lava Kingdom rarely appear in the Wuhan Land. Therefore, until the Flame Demon Emperor forcibly woke up, the Lava Kingdom was no longer as grand as it was 1,000 years ago. The number of epic level strongmen was only about 10, and they were all flame creatures with low potential. Even if the Flame Demon Emperor woke up, such a Lava Kingdom could not restore its grandeur 1,000 years ago. If it were not so, how could such a large Lava Kingdom, with a mythical powerhouse like the Fire Demon Emperor, show signs of defeat under the attack of the Nenean Alliance, which is only a quarter of the power of the Wuhan Land, and the 20 strange Demon Kings? It is precisely because the Lava Kingdom has become very weak now, and there are not many epic powerhouses. Illidan, who disguised himself as a fire demon, was able to quickly gain the trust of the Fire Demon Emperor and even become the second person in the Lava Kingdom. Of course, Illidan did not live up to the trust of the Fire Demon Emperor. Whether it was the previous efforts to delay time for it to recover its strength or the ability to contain the great demon Murphy now, the Fire Demon Emperor was surprised and delighted. It's a pity that such a junior can't grow up better. The Fire Demon Emperor secretly regretted in his heart. It knew clearly that, if it fell under the siege of more than 30 Demon Kings around it, the Lava Kingdom would soon be conquered by the Nenean Alliance. Former high-ranking officials like Gosmo will never be spared. Thinking of this, the Flame Demon Emperor changed his mind. No, maybe there is still a way out. This descendant of the same race is extremely outstanding in all aspects. It is really a pity to die with him. It is better to. After just a moment of thinking, the Flame Demon Emperor made the next decision in his heart. The faces of the dozen demon kings who were blown back by the Flame Demon Emperor did not show any shame. It was not that they were thick-skinned, but they had seen the power of the Flame Demon Emperor in the last battle, and knew that they alone could not fight against this mythical strongman. Then, these demon kings turned their eyes to the heroes of the Undead clan. The Flame Demon Emperor was able to be beaten to open the Molten Fire Realm because of these demon kings from the Undead Demon Realm, and the collapse of the Molten Fire Realm and the injury of the Flame Demon Emperor were also the means of these strange demon kings. Speaking of which, even these demon kings who were still friendly forces felt frightened when they felt the power of the dead silence. This is the fundamental correspondence between the living and the dead. Although these demon kings do not have the knowledge of the Flame Demon Emperor to recognize it, it does not prevent them from feeling daunted. Now, the demon kings of the South Abyss Alliance know that they cannot kill the Flame Demon Emperor alone. Although they do not understand what purpose these demon kings from the Undead Demon Realm have, and what kind of benefits they want to gain, at least their temporary goals are the same. Cultivate saw the eyes of these demon kings, and knew that they wanted him, and others to take action. In fact, it is not impossible for it to guess that the demon kings of the South Abyss Alliance are already considering some ideas that they should not have, but it does not care at all. Those demon kings may be on guard against the heroes of the undead, but if there is no sharp conflict of interest, they will not turn against each other casually after the war. In fact, Zhao Kang sent these 20 undead heroes to fight just to kill the Flame Demon Emperor to complete the task, without any other purpose. Of course, if there is really a purpose, it may be to sell the South Abyss Alliance a favor. The main quest of the Undead system requires occupying half of the territory of the Demon Realm, so it is inevitable that the Land of the Abyss cannot be avoided. Zhao Kang, as a time traveler, naturally has no difficulty in using such a simple method of making friends with those far away and attacking those near. As a genuine lich, one of the 4 pillars under Zhao Kang, Cultivate naturally knows what killing the Fire Emperor means to the undead. As long as the Fire Emperor is killed, not only can the upper limit of the level of the replica heroes in the undead be raised to level 8, but Cultivate himself may also be able to reach level 9 and become a mythical lich. After the strength of the undead has been greatly improved, it will naturally be easier to conquer the demon realm. On the other hand, the undead actually have the same purpose as Illidan. They help the South Abyss Alliance to consume the overall strength of the demon realm and complete the task by the way. With this idea, Cultivate will naturally not disappoint the expectations of the Demon King of the South Abyss Alliance, and quietly order the final attack. The Death Knight raised his greatsword with a bang. The Crypt Lord thrust his forefoot into the ground, preparing to stab the ground. The Dreadlord laughed, and sent out a dark green energy wave. The liches launched Frost Nova together. In an instant, the Fire Emperor was overwhelmed by all kinds of attacks. Chapter 516, The End of the Great Emperor. The morale of the soldiers on the side of the Lava Kingdom gradually dropped. The Flame Emperor, who had lost the Molten Realm, was extremely passive when facing the beating of the undead heroes. Originally, when he had the energy body manifested in the Molten Realm, at least the 2 powerful control skills of the Crypt Lord's Earth Spikes and the Dreadlord Sleep could not affect the Flame Emperor. But now that he was fighting naked, there was no room for buffering, and the skills of the undead heroes came into play. Originally, the Crypt Lord's Earth Spikes skill was still easy to dodge, and the not so long Earth Spikes obviously could not threaten the flying enemies. But if combined with sleep, the effect was completely different. Because of the loss of 1/3 of his vitality, the Flame Emperor's soul was also traumatized. The reality was that his resistance to mental control skills such as sleep was much lower. Originally, it took 4 Dreadlords to cast sleep together to put the Flame Emperor into a short sleep, but now only 2 were needed. Although the Flame Demon Emperor flew up alertly after the collapse of the Molten Realm to guard against the sudden attack of the spikes, he could not defend against the skill of sleep, which directly affects the body. The familiar murmur sounded again, and the Flame Demon Emperor soon felt inexplicably sleepy and fell headfirst. and the ground below him. The spikes of the Crypt Lord had already spread to this place. But the spikes bounced up and hit the Flame Demon Emperor, who fell. When the attack was about to hit him, the Flame Demon Emperor woke up from his sleep. However, as soon as he woke up, the stun effect of the spikes took effect again. It was not until this time that the Frost Nova that the Liches had been holding in their hands for a long time came. The sleep skill will be invalid when the target is attacked, and Frost Nova is no exception. Therefore, the Liches launched the attack only after the spikes hit the Flame Demon Emperor into a completely controlled state of dizziness. The 8 Frost Novas not only caused considerable damage to the Fire Demon Emperor, but also made him feel as if his mind was frozen. Originally, the Fire Demon Emperor could wake up during the time it took for the spikes to knock him away, but now it was no longer possible. Another Crypt Lord who had been prepared released the second spike in time, knocking the Fire Demon Emperor away again, and putting him into a dizzy state. Although there was no freezing effect of the Frost Novas this time, the other 2 Dreadlords cast the sleep skill together, causing the Fire Demon Emperor, who had just woken up from the dizziness, to fall into a deep sleep. Naturally, he did a free fall again. Not surprisingly, the Fire Demon Emperor was knocked away and stunned by the third wave of spikes. During this uninterrupted control time, the Death Knights had already arrived in front of the Fire Demon Emperor and cut off the great swords in their hands. At the same time, 4 death coils were also raging on the Fire Demon Emperor, destroying his body. The more than 10 Demon Kings of the Nenean Alliance were not idle either. The Demon Kings who were good at close combat and the Death Knights rushed forward to attack the Flame Demon Emperor. The Demon Kings who were good at long range attacks stood together with the Liches and bombarded the Flame Demon Emperor with various spells. The reason why the soldiers of the Lava Kingdom were demoralized was because they saw such a scene. The Flame Demon Emperor was a god in the minds of the residents of the Lava Kingdom, even if he had been sleeping for 1,000 years. Otherwise, they would not have spared no effort to contribute their own strength to awaken the Flame Demon Emperor. However, the gods they believed in now looked extremely miserable after being beaten, which made many residents of the Lava Kingdom feel that their faith was shattered. Such emotions made the flame creatures often lose their minds during the battle, and even the strength in their bodies seemed to be suddenly drained. The demon troops of the Nenean Alliance were soon freed from the hard battle, and the battle became extremely easy. Catcher, a not loud, but very clear sound rang out. The Demon Kings and Undead heroes who were besieging the Flame Demon Emperor were stunned, and then they found that the extremely strong black crystal armor on the Flame Demon Emperor finally couldn't withstand their continuous attacks and shattered. The Flame Demon Emperor was truly in a desperate situation. Suddenly, a sun-like light shone up, and the Death Knights and Demon Kings who were fighting the Flame Demon Emperor felt as if they were about to melt, and hurriedly left the Flame Demon Emperor. When the light faded, what appeared in front of everyone was the Flame Demon Emperor, who was slumped on the ground. Now, after losing his armor, the Flame Demon Emperor's whole body was not emitting the red light of magma, but a blazing white color. In front of the Flame Demon Emperor, who was like a large light bulb, 2 piles of black ashes were piled there, and there were 2 twisted demon hearts in the ashes. These were the 2 Demon Kings who were closest to the Flame Demon Emperor because of their greed for merit. When the dazzling light came on, the 2 Demon Kings were attacking the Flame Demon Emperor with all their strength, and there was no time to retreat. At this time, the Flame Demon Emperor grabbed them with his arms and firmly fixed them in front of his body. After the light faded, the only things left by the 2 Demon Kings were the 2 ashes and 2 demon hearts. The Demon Kings of the Nenean Alliance who retreated in time and escaped the disaster had cold sweat on their foreheads. Fortunately, they reacted quickly, otherwise, they might have turned into a handful of ashes. Although the Flame Demon Emperor was already at the end of his strength, the power he could burst out was still not to be underestimated. However, such an explosion seemed to be the last strength of the Flame Demon Emperor. The Flame Demon Emperor, who was slumped on the ground, gradually began to dim the blazing white light on his body. The magma that overflowed from its mouth also brought some grey and ice blue light. This was the manifestation of the death power and frost power eroding the body. Without neglecting, the 4th Crypt Lord who had not acted before hit the ground spike and knocked the Flame Demon Emperor away again. But this time, the Flame Demon Emperor who was knocked away did not adjust his body shape in the air and fly up, but fell straight down, as if he had lost all his strength. The eyes of the undead heroes and the demon lords of the Southern Abyss Alliance lit up at the same time. The attack just now must have been the last gasp of the Fire Lord. Now, after suffering so many attacks, it must have fallen into a state of near death. Sensing the gradually fading aura of the Fire Lord, the undead heroes and the demon lords of the Southern Abyss Alliance were certain of this. At the same time, they were also mourning for the two demon kings who had turned to ashes. If the two of them were not so anxious, they would not have been dragged down by the Fire Lord, who had already become a dead dog, and died together. After confirming that the Fire Lord had completely lost the power to resist, Kil'thuzad did not dare to hesitate at all. He waved his hand, and ordered all the undead heroes to rush forward together, ready to beat the Fire Lord to death. Zhao Kang's mission was to kill the Fire Lord, but the definition of this killing was not very clear. If the undead heroes did not kill the Fire Lord personally but only participated in it, who knew if the mission would be considered a failure? Because of such concerns, Zhao Kang gave a death order when sending out these undead heroes, and they must kill the Flame Demon Emperor personally. Similarly, the Demon Kings of the Naniuan Alliance were not willing to lag behind. Although they did not have any tasks, this did not prevent them from being keen on killing the Flame Demon Emperor personally. The Flame Demon Emperor was a mythical powerful being who had dominated the demon world for thousands of years. If he could be killed by himself, what a great honor it would be. Even the great Demon King Murphy, who was fighting Illidan, could not help but abandon his opponent and fly towards the Flame Demon Emperor. The Demon King who had killed a mythical demon. Such a title was more domineering than the first Demon King. Besides, how much energy would the demon heart left by the mythical demon have? This was a naked temptation for every Demon King. When the heroes of the Undead tribe and more than a dozen Demon Kings of the Naniuan Alliance, including the great Demon King Murphy, flew to the side of the Flame Demon Emperor almost at the same time, ready to take action to completely eliminate him, the Flame Demon Emperor suddenly raised his head, with a weird smile on his face, looking at these enemies who were about to give him the final blow. Chapter 517 Self-Destruction. As a lich, although Kil'thuzad was anxious to get the last blow for the Fire Lord, he was still a little further away from the other liches. After all, liches are different from heroes such as the Death Knight and the Crypt Lord. They are ranged heroes. Seeing the strange smile of the Fire Lord from a distance, Kil'thuzad's heart skipped a beat. No, there is a conspiracy. Immediately, he summoned his mental power and instantly ordered the undead heroes who rushed forward to retreat. However, it was too late. When the Fire Lord raised his head, his huge body began to flicker with an uncertain luster. When Kil'thuzad hurriedly gave the order, the light on the Fire Lord had expanded to a limit, approaching the brightness of the previous last ray of light. The position where the Fire Lord was suddenly became extremely bright, just like a supernova explosion. The brightness even made Kil'thuzad, a dead creature, feel blinded. Then, Kil'thuzad felt a powerful and hot energy wave coming to him in an instant, sweeping past him quickly. Kil'thuzad only had time to cast a frost armor on himself, before being blown away by the powerful energy wave. The hastily cast frost armor also melted and disappeared in an instant, but fortunately it still played a certain buffering role. This pure energy wave does not have the special power to ab negative states, and Kil'thuzad, as a dead creature, will naturally not be stunned by the explosion. Therefore, after landing, Kil'thuzad, whose body had become burnt and smelly, immediately stood up and looked at the original location of the Fire Emperor. It was not until this time that the roar of the explosion was sensed by Kil'thuzad. What Kil'thuzad discovered along with the roar was a spectacular mushroom cloud. The Fire Emperor, surprisingly, blew himself up. Kil'thuzad felt that his long-lost brain seemed to have suddenly returned at this moment, and then crashed. The director is not following the script. Damn, how could a mythical supreme being do such a shameless thing as self-destruction? Previously, the Flame Demon Emperor's last gasp turned two Demon Kings of the Naniuan Alliance into ashes. Everyone thought that these two unlucky guys were buried with the Flame Demon Emperor. But who would have thought that the Flame Demon Emperor was not satisfied with just two Demon Kings, that he didn't care about being buried with him, and directly chose to self-destruct, dragging more people into the water, no, into the magma. Because he was far away, and was the strongest among the undead heroes, Kil'thuzad was burned and smelled by the energy of the Flame Demon Emperor's self-destruction, but at least he didn't have the power of life, and his health points only went down by about half. The other 7 liches that were originally beside him, like Kil'thuzad, were able to cast a frost armor on themselves in time. But only the 4 standing behind the other liches survived, and the other 3 liches were completely melted in this violent energy. Look at the original location of the Flame Demon Emperor again. When the mushroom cloud gradually dissipated, a stream of magma instantly erupted from there. The ground here is not very thick. The self-explosion of the Fire Demon Emperor has shattered the ground and blasted out the underground magma. Around this artificial fountain, it is clean. This is the center of the explosion. The guys who rushed here to give the Fire Demon Emperor the final blow before he exploded have been blown to ashes, leaving no trace. Only in the more peripheral locations can we find the damaged bodies of several Demon Kings and a few survivors. Among the dozen Demon Kings of the South Abyss Alliance, the Great Demon King Murphy was fighting with Illidan at a distance at the beginning, so before he could fly closer to the Fire Demon Emperor, the Fire Demon Emperor exploded. It is the strongest one, so it survived, and its injuries are not particularly serious. In addition to the Great Demon King Murphy, among the Demon Kings of the South Abyss Alliance who participated in the siege of the Fire Demon Emperor, only one Demon King with extremely strong physical defense survived. The rest of the Demon Kings, no matter how strong their body recovery ability was, died instantly under the self-explosion of the mythical strongest. The strong recovery ability was useless. The situation of the undead heroes was better. Kil'thuzad and the other 4 liches escaped because they were far away. In addition to them, there were 3 heroes who survived. Among these 3 heroes, 2 were Death Knights and 1 was a Crypt Lord. At the moment, when the Fire Emperor exploded, the Death Knights, whose emotions never fluctuated, quickly chose to maximize their interests. The 2 Death Knights in the front chose to sacrifice themselves and tried their best to resist some of the energy waves for the Death Knights behind them. At the same time, they also cast their newly cooled death coils on a Death Knight behind them. The 2 Death Knights who were protected also cast death coils on each other. With 2 death coils to restore health points, plus the support of the 2 Death Knights in front, the 2 Death Knights survived. The reason why the Crypt Lord survived was very simple. Although the skills of the cloned heroes are the same, the skill levels they at may not be the same. The Crypt Lord who survived was different from the other Crypt Lords. He first upgraded his spiked shell to the highest level he could reach. With the extra armor provided by the high level spiked shell, the Crypt Lord was able to escape with his life. As for the 4 Dreadlords, although they all had a blood-sucking aura, this instantaneous damage did not give them any chance to suck blood, so they were naturally killed directly. Illidan, who was far away, had noticed something was wrong when the Fire Lord returned to life killed the 2 demons. With his mythical mental power, he found that, although the Fire Lord looked exhausted on the surface, there was a terrifying energy surging inside his body. What's more, in the light of returning to life, Illidan suddenly saw the Fire Lord looking at him and gave him a resolute look. By this, Illidan had already judged that the Fire Lord was going to choose to self-destruct. Therefore, when the Great Demon King Murphy abandoned the battle with him and flew to the side of the Fire Demon Emperor, Illidan did not stop him at all, but instead gave the Great Demon King Murphy a blow to help him. As for the idea of organizing the Fire Demon Emperor to self-destruct, Illidan had never thought of it. Although it was a pity that he could not get the experience of killing the Fire Demon Emperor, it could perfectly achieve the goal of consuming the overall strength of the demon world. Judging from the current outcome, Illidan's choice was obviously wise. In a brilliant and gorgeous mythical level strongman self-destruction, 12 Demon Kings of the South Abyss Alliance died, and 12 undead heroes also lost. Those who survived by chance also obviously lost their combat effectiveness. At least in this way, the Demon Kings and epic flame creatures that could still fight and entangled between the South Abyss Alliance and the Lava Kingdom became balanced in number. On the side of the Lava Kingdom, there was also an extra Illidan. Since Illidan had discovered that the Fire Demon Emperor wanted to self-destruct early, he would naturally be prepared, so he was not affected at all. The others who were not prepared were not so lucky. The explosion of the mythical strongest, in addition to the epic strong being wiped out in the center, also had a great killing power in the energy wave. The hot energy wave that Kel'Thuzad had felt did not stop after sweeping them, but spread to the Lava Kingdom and the Naniuan Alliance troops who were still fighting. Although there was a certain buffer zone, the strength of these ordinary soldiers could not compare with those demon kings. Even the weakened energy wave brought a catastrophe to these soldiers, who had no idea what was happening. Even the flame creatures belonging to the Lava Kingdom, which were all fire attributed, or composed of flames and magma, were blown down and extinguished one by one in this super strong energy wave that could not distinguish between friend and foe, just like cutting wheat. It was not until it swept and destroyed more than 400,000 flame creatures and demons that the energy wave generated by the self-explosion of the Flame Demon Emperor finally dissipated. Chapter 518. Not the Flame Demon. When the Flame Emperor started the battle, he took the initiative to come to the rear of the Naniuan Alliance troops to find the undead heroes. Although both sides moved during the battle, and the Molten Realm also circled the battlefield and swept in more than a dozen demon kings, the location where the Flame Emperor fell and exploded was still deep in the Naniuan Alliance troops. Therefore, among the ordinary soldiers affected by the explosion, only 100,000 were flame creatures, and 300,000 were demon soldiers from the Naniuan Alliance. From this point, it can be seen that the Flame Emperor's self-explosion was probably not a decision made in desperation. Illidan thought that after those liches cast death and decay and caused the Molten Realm to collapse, the Flame Emperor had already prepared for his self-explosion. After observing the current situation in the basin for a while, Yufei was a little stunned. So, the Flame Emperor is really a good person. Before the self-explosion, he did not forget to consider the Lava Kingdom and try to kill more Naniuan Alliance troops. In this way, even if the residents of the Lava Kingdom were extremely sad about the death of the Fire Demon Emperor, they would eventually win with the absolute numerical advantage. Moreover, the Fire Demon Emperor, along with more than a dozen demon kings of the Southern Abyss Alliance, more than a dozen heroes of the Undead tribe, and 300,000 demon troops, died together. Doesn't that mean that Illidan has now become the actual ruler of the Lava Kingdom? TSK. Thinking about it this way, Illidan has simply picked up a huge bargain. Victory in the war is within reach, and the position of the ruler of the Lava Kingdom has already run to Illidan's ass. But, is the Fire Demon Emperor really that good? Or, is a veteran mythical level powerful person who has lived for thousands or tens of thousands of years really so easy to fall? No, obviously not. When the huge mushroom cloud rose, a ray of light that no one noticed flew out at the same time. Under the brilliance produced by the Fire Demon Emperor's self-explosion, this ray of light was almost inaudible. When the impact of the explosion completely spread, the light had already reached Illidan's position and quickly penetrated into Illidan's body. At this time, Illidan was estimating the consequences of the self-explosion of the Fire Lord, and did not notice the light penetrating into his body at all. But the next moment, he was suddenly stunned. In Illidan's sea of consciousness, a figure that could reach the sky and penetrate the earth was roaring excitedly. A closer look revealed that the face of this figure was the Fire Lord. The somewhat illusory Fire Lord was talking to himself triumphantly. Wow, since Gosmo's qualifications are so good, why not let me have him? Those damned Abyss Demon Kings would never have thought that they would not be able to completely kill me even at the cost of dozens of Demon Kings' lives, right? Then, the voice of the Fire Lord became angry and even resentful. Even more than 70 Demon Kings didn't force me to this extent. When I use this body of my descendant to recover my strength, I will definitely destroy the damned Naniuan Alliance. This illusory figure is the soul of the Fire Demon Emperor. Its body was detonated by itself, but its soul escaped and entered Illidan's body. Judging from its intention, it seems that it wants to occupy Illidan's body and live another life. The soul body of the Fire Demon Emperor excitedly imagined a bright future. The Naniuan Alliance would definitely be devastated by his self-explosion, and this war was a victory for the Lava Kingdom. Although the strength of this descendant is only epic, judging from its progress, when I occupy this body and use my own mythical experience to improve, I will definitely be able to recover some of my strength quickly. In this way, not only can I survive, but I will also have hope to avoid the final disaster. Thinking of this, the soul body of the Fire Demon Emperor couldn't help but start to act, ready to completely occupy Illidan's body. However, it was only at this time that it was shocked to find that its body, which was so tall and deep in Illidan's sea of consciousness, had returned to its normal size at some point, and there was an extra pair of chains on its body. Looking up, the soul body of the fire demon emperor appeared in front of him. With gradually narrowed ears, a slender and strong body, and mysterious spells all over its body, this creature was Illidan in the form of a demon hunter. Although its body had become a fire demon from the inside out, whether it was a living being or a dead being, the sea of consciousness was the most fundamental place, and what was revealed would naturally be the most real. The soul body of the fire demon emperor was confused. The body he entered last was definitely the body of the outstanding descendant Gosmo, so how could a strange creature appear in this sea of consciousness? Gradually, the soul body of the fire demon emperor found more things wrong. It was not strange that chains appeared on his body. Of course, the master could do such a thing in the sea of consciousness of others. But, was the binding force of these chains a little too strong? The Fire Lord chose Illidan to occupy his body, so he was naturally well prepared. He was a mythical peak powerhouse. Even if his soul was damaged by the multiple death and decay of the Lich, it was not comparable to the epic level. In the soul body of the Fire Lord, even if he took the initiative to enter the sea of consciousness of Gosmo, who had the advantage of home court, could not suppress him in terms of soul. However, judging from the current situation, it seems that his inference was wrong. No, it was not his inference that was wrong. There is no comparison between the epic level and the mythical level, but seeing that a Fire Lord who had not fully recovered his strength could finally perish with more than 20 demon kings, it can be seen that there is a qualitative gap between the epic level and the mythical level. If Illidan, that is, the Fire Lord's eyes, Gosmo was really just an epic level Fire Lord, then his sea of consciousness could only let the soul body of the Fire Lord do whatever it wanted. But the strength shown by Illidan at this moment was not just epic. After struggling hard and finding that he could not easily break free of the chains on his body, the soul body of the fire demon emperor was shocked. How could it be a mythical level? No, you are not Gosmo at all. No, it's still wrong. You are not a fire demon at all. The fire demon emperor felt that his young mind was greatly traumatized. How could it be possible? How could this Gosmo have the strength of a mythical level? How could it be that he is not a fire demon at all? Even though he was an old monster who had lived for tens of thousands of years, the fire demon emperor was in a state of confusion at this moment. When Illidan, the fire demon Gosmo, disguised as a fire demon, joined the fire demon emperor, it had just woken up from its deep sleep. After discovering that there were only a few small fish and shrimps in the lava kingdom, and after carefully verifying the identity of Gosmo the fire demon emperor took Illidan under his command. Later, Illidan did not disappoint the fire demon emperor. He showed extraordinary abilities in both wars, and in the end he was able to fight with the great demon lord Murphy. The Fire Lord had long since helped this descendant of his clan to the second position in the lava kingdom. But now, in Illidan's sea of consciousness, the Fire Lord discovered that this descendant of his clan, whom he trusted so much, was not actually a Fire Lord. This made him feel that he had been greatly deceived. Facing the roaring questioning of the soul body of the Fire Lord, Illidan sneered. Deception? Does the Fire Lord have the right to question Illidan about deception? Before Illidan was exposed, Gosmo was the descendant of his clan that the Fire Lord valued the most. Even so, after the self-explosion, the Fire Lord still chose to put his soul into Gosmo's body without hesitation, wanting to occupy the body of this descendant of his clan. From this point of view, the so-called Fire Lord is a good person is simply nonsense. Yufei, who discovered the situation in Illidan's sea of consciousness, could not help but have an impulse to roar, "Give me back my good guy card." Crack. In another desperate struggle, the chains that bound the soul body of the fire demon emperor were finally broken free. No matter what you are, this body will eventually belong to this emperor, and this emperor will be resurrected again. The face of the soul body of the fire demon emperor was full of ferocity. Thanks to book friends Weihei and Gulabei for their awards, and to book friend Wuemo Kingyang for his monthly ticket. The 4th update is completed, and I'm asking for recommendation tickets and monthly tickets as usual. Chapter 519 Prophecy. There is no doubt that the resistance of the Fire Lord is in vain. Even if this old-fashioned mythical strongman is converted into a hero level, He is one level higher than Illidan, but in all aspects, he has no ability to turn the tables. This is Illidan's sea of consciousness. In this kind of soul battle, the home advantage is the most important advantage. What's more, because of the impact of multiple death and decay, the Fire Lord, whose soul has been damaged, may not be able to win, even if he fights Illidan fairly. Illidan has the demon domain. Any demon killed by Illidan in the demon domain, and corroded by the demonic aura, Illidan can choose to become this kind of demon later. For example, his current identity as the Fire Lord Gothmo came from this. And in this, naturally, it will also involve things about the soul. In other words, the Fire Lord, with a disabled body, competes with Illidan, who has a strong attainment in the soul, for the body in Illidan's home field. From this point of view, it can only be hopeless. The soul body of the Fire Demon Emperor broke free of a chain, but Illidan only had a thought, and countless new chains were tied to the soul body of the Fire Demon Emperor. Then, Illidan was too lazy to entangle with this soul body, that could not see the situation clearly, and came to the door automatically, and directly annihilated it. Unlike the demons, killed by the demon domain, the Fire Demon Emperor was not killed by Illidan to be exact. Therefore, experience points and the like have nothing to do with Illidan. However, because this was the soul body of the Fire Demon Emperor who took the initiative to enter Illidan's sea of consciousness, and was killed here, Illidan did have some unexpected gains. In fact, when Yufei discovered that the Fire Demon Emperor was about to self-destruct, he was ready to let Illidan stop it. It was not because of anything else, but because the Fire Demon Emperor might know about the news of the Heart of Darkness. If he let it self-destruct like this, he didn't know where to find clues. But the Fire Lord was stronger than Illidan anyway, and it was too late when Illidan found out that the Fire Lord had chosen to self-destruct. Even if Illidan had recovered his mythical demon hunter strength and rushed up to stop him, he would only be injured in vain. Therefore, Yufei had to give up this idea and comfort himself that he could definitely find clues about the Heart of Darkness from other aspects. Besides, the Naniuan Alliance and the Lava Kingdom had suffered such a great loss, which was also a big gain. He might as well make up for the loss. Unexpectedly, after Illidan completely annihilated the soul body of the Fire Lord in the Sea of Consciousness, he obtained some of the Fire Lord's memories. Fortunately, this memory contained some information about the Heart of Darkness. When Yufei learned about the information contained in this memory through Illidan, he was shocked. Unexpectedly, the conditions for obtaining the Heart of Darkness were so simple. Even more unexpectedly, the demon world was already on the verge of destruction. Among them, the latter piece of information was an unexpected gain, but it was actually related to the Heart of Darkness. As a long-time famous demon in the demon world, perhaps the only mythical supreme being, the Flame Demon Emperor knows many secrets that ordinary demons will never know in their lifetime. The Heart of Darkness is just a name in the S-Laser world. According to legend, other parts of the Heart of Eternity, such as the Heart of the Ocean and the Heart of the Earth, have been obtained by people. Only the Heart of Darkness, because it is said to exist in the demon world, has never been obtained, or even seen in the S-Laser world. To be precise, in fact, no demon in the demon world has ever seen it. Because here, the real name of the Heart of Darkness is the Heart of the World. Only when the demon world is destroyed, the Heart of the World, which is the Heart of Darkness mentioned by S-Laser, will appear. Before this, even the Flame Demon Emperor only knew this, but had never seen the Heart of Darkness. Of course, if you have the power to destroy the demon world, then you can naturally get the Heart of Darkness easily. Does Yufei have it? No. At least in the short term, Yufei does not have the ability to destroy a world, even a world like the demon world, that seems relatively simple compared to the S-Laser world. However, this does not mean that Yufei cannot obtain the Heart of Darkness. In the memories of the Fire Lord obtained by Illidan, a prophecy occupies a very important position. The Fire Lord knew this prophecy a long time ago, and it was recorded by the Fire Lord until now in a strange language. Apart from it, I'm afraid that other demons would not understand such a prophecy, even if they heard it. Fortunately, Illidan read this part of the Fire Lord's memory, and naturally knew the content of the prophecy. Perhaps because of the language barrier, although the prophecy was translated through the memory of the Fire Lord, Yufei still felt it was very difficult to understand. The general meaning of the prophecy is that on the eve of the fourth holy war of the demon world against the world of Slays, the entire demon world will be destroyed by a great force. In this destruction, most creatures will die, and the undead will sublimate. Among the creatures, only the most powerful ones can survive. The Fire Lord believed in this prophecy. Otherwise, it would not have issued an order long ago to let the residents of the Lava Kingdom wake it up before the Fourth Holy War, after it was put into a deep sleep in the war 1,000 years ago. Although according to the prophecy, powerful creatures can survive, the Fire Demon Emperor did not dare to welcome this prophecy that made him believe in it in his sleep. Because Illidan only obtained part of his memory, he did not know what made the Fire Demon Emperor believe in this seemingly absurd prophecy, but this did not prevent Eupheny from paying attention to it. The demon world is about to be destroyed. What should the Blood Elves do? The first thing Eupheny thought of was this question. Although it was already planned that, after obtaining the Heart of Darkness, the Blood Elves would be brought back to the world of Slays by Eupheny, but because there was no news about the Heart of Darkness, no detailed plan was made. According to the prophecy, the demon world will be destroyed when the Fourth Holy War comes. And there is only a little more than a year away from the so-called Fourth Holy War of the demon world. Some demon kings who had prepared in advance had already begun to expand their power in the abandoned land and occupied the altar that was teleported to the world of Slays. The current situation in the volcanic basin was quite chaotic, so Eupheny asked Illidan to unify it. He began to carefully analyze the prophecy he had obtained from the memory of the Flame Demon Emperor. The destruction of a world must have signs, such as sudden earthquakes, sudden increase in tsunamis, frequent volcanic eruptions, etc. If this world is about to go to natural destruction. From this point of view, the demon world has no signs of destruction. Earthquakes and the like have almost never occurred in the demon world. As for tsunamis, the demon world has no ocean at all. As for volcanic eruptions, this has indeed occurred frequently recently, but it was actively detonated by the Lava Kingdom in order to fight against the Neo-and Alliance troops. In general, there has been no abnormal change in the natural conditions of the demon world in the recent period of time. Combined with the ambiguous prophecy that the demon world will be destroyed under the influence of a great force, Eupheny has a new guess. This great force is probably an external force. But, what kind of external force can destroy the world? Eupheny couldn't think of it. Could it be that the great power mentioned in the prophecy would be himself? Only if he came to the demon world to obtain the Heart of Darkness would he have the motivation to destroy the demon world. But Eupheny knew clearly that, even if he developed for another year, even if he brought the power of the Night Elves to the demon world, he still did not have the ability to destroy the world. From this, it can be imagined that the external force that may destroy the demon world can really be called great power. As for whether this power is good or bad, and where it comes from, Eupheny is actually not too concerned. As long as he can get the Heart of Darkness after the destruction of the demon world, as long as his power in the demon world, that is, the Blood Elves, will not suffer major trauma in such a disaster, then the destruction of the demon world is actually a good thing for him. Thanks to the book French Iron Meteor Cannon for the reward of 5888 plus 588 Nyangbi. It has been a long time since I received such a large reward equals. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 520, The Age of Cosmo. As for the second half of the prophecy, it is relatively straightforward. It simply means that the strong ones can survive in this disaster, while the weak ones can only be destroyed together with the demon world. However, there is a sentence mixed in it, which makes the second half of the prophecy mysterious. The dead will be sublimated. According to the memory of the Flame Demon Emperor, this prophecy was known to him thousands of years ago. At that time, the undead did not appear in the demon world at all, and the demons did not even have the concept of the dead. In the world of Slays, there is the profession of necromancer, but it has nothing to do with the demon world. Just from this point of view, this mysterious prophecy is credible to a certain extent. The appearance of the undead confirms the statement of the dead in the prophecy. But what does the dead will be sublimated mean? The undead are not the original existence of the demon world at all. Can they still get a lot of benefits from the destruction of the demon world and their strength will expand rapidly? Unable to figure out what the sublimation mentioned in the prophecy means, Euphony can only understand it this way for the time being. After such an analysis, Euphony's prophecy is like this: the demon world will be destroyed within a year. The undead will become very strong. After the demon world is destroyed, he will have the opportunity to obtain the Heart of Darkness. The most important purpose of Euphony's coming to the demon world is to obtain the Heart of Darkness. In addition, even the Blood Elves are not abandoned. The time of the destruction of the demon world mentioned in the prophecy is the eve of the Fourth Holy War. The scope of this eve is relatively wide. Maybe the demon world will collapse in the next moment, leaving a pile of space turbulence. In the remaining less than a year, what Euphony has to do is to improve the strength of the Blood Elves. The prophecy said that powerful creatures will survive. If you don't want to give up the Blood Elves, then naturally you have to make great progress in their strength. Besides, it is still unknown what the appearance of the Heart of Darkness will be like at that time. If the demon kings who survived in the demon world at that time also want to get the Heart of Darkness, they must use the power of the Blood Elves. As for the sublimation of the undead, it has nothing to do with Euphony. In his eyes, there is only the Heart of Darkness. After strengthening his confidence, Euphony did not speculate on this simple prophecy, but continued to observe the situation in the Lava Kingdom. The battle in Illidan's Sea of Consciousness was naturally not discovered by others. Killing the soul body of the Fire Demon Emperor and seizing some of the Fire Demon Emperor's memories may sound long, but in fact it only took a few seconds. When Illidan broke away from the Sea of Consciousness, the situation in the basin remained unchanged. The demon kings of the Naniuan Alliance, the undead heroes who survived the explosion of the Fire Demon Emperor, all lost their combat effectiveness. Even Kel'Thuzad and the Great Demon King Murphy were no exception. Only the 10 demon kings who were far away from this battlefield and were fighting against their equally matched opponents still retained their combat effectiveness, but their opponents were the same. If Illidan, who was no longer blocked, did not participate in the battle between the Demon King and the epic flamed creature, then at present, the high-end strength of both sides formed a balance. However, in terms of troops, this was not the case. When the demon army of the Naniuan Alliance set out, it was said to be an army of 800,000. Although most of them were recruited soldiers, their numbers were not diluted. Under Illidan's harassment and traps for more than a month, the Naniuan Alliance troops lost about 50,000 troops before entering the volcanic area. By the time they crossed the more dangerous volcanic area and arrived at the basin in the center of the volcanic area, they had already lost 200,000 demon troops. The remaining 600,000 demon soldiers lost about 100,000 in the previous battle with the Lava Kingdom troops. However, the Abyss Alliance shamelessly let the Demon King lead the team himself. Even the Great Demon King Murphy slaughtered the flame creatures to his heart's content. As a result, the loss of the Lava Kingdom soldiers was more than that of the Naniuan Alliance troops. Before the Flame Demon Emperor exploded, the flame creatures in the basin had already lost nearly 300,000. Compared with the Naniuan Alliance troops who actually died in the Legion battle, the battle loss ratio reached 3-1. This is not to say that the combat effectiveness of the soldiers of the Lava Kingdom is too different from that of the demons of the Naniuan Alliance. It is because the Naniuan Alliance has unrestricted strongmen who can influence the morale of the soldiers and lead the battle. However, in the self-explosion of the Flame Demon Emperor, the demon soldiers of the Naniuan Alliance lost a full 300,000, while the flame creatures of the Lava Kingdom only lost about 100,000. If you calculate it this way, from the time when the demon troops of the Naniuan Alliance entered the basin to start the battle to now, both sides have actually lost 400,000 troops each. However, these 400,000 troops have different meanings for both sides. When the demon troops of the Naniuan Alliance arrived at this basin, there were only 600,000 demon soldiers left. After losing 400,000, there were only 200,000. This is not the case for the Lava Kingdom. At the beginning, there were 800,000 flame creatures gathered in the volcanic area, and there were endless flame creatures that were constantly reinforcing here. In the end, even if 400,000 troops were lost, there were still 600,000 soldiers belonging to the Lava Kingdom on the field. Even if the worst case 3-to-1 loss ratio is used, the remaining 200,000 Naniuan Alliance troops can be wiped out. Moreover, the Naniuan Alliance no longer has the advantage in high-end combat power. On the contrary, if Illidan slaughters the Naniuan Alliance soldiers like the Great Demon Murphy just now, the Lava Kingdom will have the upper hand in high-end strength. Will Illidan participate in the battle? The answer is yes. After the Fire Demon Emperor blew himself up, the identity of the Fire Demon Gosmo he disguised as naturally became the ruler of the Lava Kingdom. This was appointed by the Fire Demon Emperor, and no one could deny it. In this way, the power of the Lava Kingdom was completely controlled by Illidan. In other words, this is no longer a force of the demon world, but belongs to Yuffie. Therefore, the war between the Lava Kingdom and the Naniuan Alliance can no longer be called internal consumption. Yuffie has always cherished his own power. Under his orders, Illidan also learned from the great demon Lord Murphy. At this time, no one could restrain him, and he slaughtered the demon soldiers of the South Abyss Alliance. Although he could not use the demon domain, because he did not want to expose his identity as a demon hunter, the ability of the Fire Demon was still very powerful in terms of mass killing. The South Abyss Alliance troops, which were on the verge of collapse after the self-explosion of the Fire Demon Emperor, soon collapsed completely after Illidan participated in the battle. Compared with the last war, 100,000 demon soldiers escaped. In this war, when the South Abyss Alliance invaded the Lava Kingdom for the second time, no demon could return to the territory of the South Abyss Alliance. Illidan's strength is stronger than every demon king who can still fight in the South Abyss Alliance. With his help, the epic flame creatures of the Lava Kingdom defeated their opponents one after another. Then, these freed flame creatures vented all the anger and sadness brought by the self-explosion of the Fire Demon Emperor on the South Abyss Alliance troops. Even the Great Demon King Murphy, the leader of the Naniuan Alliance and a Great Demon King who enjoyed a great reputation in the Wuuan land, was torn to pieces by the angry flame creatures. Because the Great Demon King Murphy had no use value, Illidan did not stop the flame creatures from doing so. The 7 surviving heroes of the Undead escaped in a way that Yuffie was very familiar with, the scroll of returning to the city. But this did not affect anything. Compared with the 800,000 demons, more than 20 demon kings, and a dozen heroes who died, the escape of these 7 heroes was harmless. Then, when the war was completely over, and the flame creatures gradually calmed down, Illidan naturally succeeded to the identity of the ruler. Whether in terms of race or strength, the Fire Lord Gothmo was the most suitable person to rule the Lava Kingdom after the death of the Fire Lord. Since then, the Lava Kingdom has entered the era of the Fire Lord Gothmo from the era of the Fire Lord Ragnaros. It's just that no flame creature knows, now that the Gothmo era may only last for 1 year. Well, it's a bit difficult to say, but there's really no way. Let me put it this way, I really overestimated myself. I'm afraid that I will not be able to achieve the goal of 10,000 words per day, 4 times a day, in May. These days, except for May 1st, I had to drink 2 packs of coffee every day on May 2nd, 3rd, 4th and today to drive away the sleepiness and barely write. But even so, I still often sit in front of the computer for a long time without writing a paragraph. So, although I'm very sorry, I'm afraid that I can only update twice a day in May. I beg all book friends to understand. Chapter 521 The demonic world is boiling. The demon world was boiling. Of course, the demon world mentioned here only refers to the Wuuan land. Compared with the various demon forces in the Wuuan land, whether it is the Lava Kingdom, the Undead occupying the Ice Purgatory, or the Blood Elves in the Abandoned Land, they all know the outcome of the war before them. If it were a war in a general area, even if it was a disastrous defeat like the Naniuan Alliance, it would be impossible for no soldier to escape. But it was different in the Lava Kingdom. Even if there was a forced march without any obstacles or emergencies, it would take more than half a month for ordinary demon soldiers to reach the core volcanic basin from outside the Lava Kingdom. Conversely, it was the same to escape from the Lava Kingdom from the volcanic basin. However, the environment of the Lava Kingdom made the Naniuan Alliance demons, who were not adapted to it at all, have no hope of escape. Because of the death of the Flame Demon Emperor, all the soldiers of the Lava Kingdom became mourners. Most of the demon kings who contributed to its direct death died in the self-explosion, and the others were killed afterwards. Ordinary Lava Kingdom soldiers vented their anger on the soldiers of the South Abyss Alliance. Originally, the flame creatures from all over the Lava Kingdom had been supporting the volcanic basin. When the 200,000 remnants of the South Abyss Alliance who had no intention of fighting anymore rushed out, these flame creatures that came to reinforce them just blocked them. What followed was an extremely smooth annihilation war. After the overall situation was decided, Illidan did not slaughter those ordinary demon soldiers. Enemies below the cloud level, even if a large number of them were killed, could only bring very little experience to Illidan now. But Illidan did not do this. The epic flame creatures that he helped to solve the opponents were different. For them, the Fire Demon Emperor was also a belief in their hearts. The grief and indignation brought to them by the self-explosion of the Fire Demon Emperor were the same as those of ordinary flame creatures. With the idea of killing all the invaders, to pay tribute to the Flame Demon Emperor, 10 epic flame creatures who had fought hard with the Demon Kings of the South Abyss Alliance for a long time ignored their physical fatigue and burned with raging flames to strangle the demon's hope of escape. In terms of quantity, the flame creatures that chased and surrounded the demon soldiers of the South Abyss Alliance had reached more than 1 million. More than 2/3 of the residents of the entire Lava Kingdom either died or gathered in the volcanic area. This is a ratio of 5 to 1 compared to the remaining demon soldiers. In terms of quality, all the Demon Kings of the South Abyss Alliance, including the Great Demon King Murphy, have been killed or injured. Although 7 heroes of the Undead survived, they all escaped with the city return scroll. In fact, Illidan could have kept these heroes at that time, but in the end he did not do so. Whether in terms of quantity or quality, the remaining soldiers of the South Abyss Alliance had no chance of survival. In the end, the demons who escaped the farthest were not able to get out of the volcanic area, let alone escape from the Lava Kingdom. It was also because of this that the demons of the Wuhan land did not know until a month later that the second round of the Naniuan Alliance's massive expeditionary force had been completely wiped out. The long-renowned Murphy Demon King, who was believed to have the potential to challenge the position of the Dire Demon King, also fell there. Immediately, the demons of the entire Wuhan land had a strong sense of crisis. Even the 30 demon cities of the Naniuan Alliance, most of which had become ownerless, were not occupied by any demon king. The less than 1 million demons left in the Naniuan Alliance were also in a panic. The 2 wars against the Lava Kingdom had already caused the Naniuan Alliance to lose both the strong and the elite soldiers. Although every demon can become a soldier at any time, such a large and elite army has been lost in the Lava Kingdom. What can the less than 1 million old, weak and sick people do? Almost all the demons of the Naniuan Alliance believe that the Lava Kingdom will definitely retaliate against the Naniuan Alliance. No, there is no Naniuan Alliance now. Almost all the demon kings who founded the Naniuan Alliance died in the Lava Kingdom. The few demon kings who stayed behind to guard their homes were originally of relatively low status among the demon kings. Without the ability and reputation to convince the public, these demon kings were not enough to take on the responsibility of the Naniuan Alliance. Therefore, the Naniuan Alliance was disbanded immediately. At this time, the remaining demon kings did not have the idea of there are no tigers in the mountains and monkeys claiming to be kings. Like ordinary demons, they were all afraid of the revenge that the Lava Kingdom might come at any time. Driven by this fear, many demons in the original jurisdiction of the Naniuan Alliance fled from this area that they thought would soon be caught in the flames of war and poured into other places in the Wuhan land. Even some foresighted demons believed that the entire Wuhan land would soon be conquered again by the Flame Demon Emperor, so they fled directly to the abandoned land. For such guys who came to the door automatically, you fairly naturally accepted the experience and flesh and blood resources they could provide without hesitation. But soon, the demons of Wuhan land found something wrong. Although they didn't know when the Naniuan Alliance's troops were destroyed, it was speculated that it should have been at least half a month ago. In this case, if the Lava Kingdom wanted to retaliate against the Naniuan Alliance or even invade Wuhan land again, to unify the demon world, it should have taken action long ago. But until everyone confirmed that the Naniuan Alliance troops had been destroyed at an unknown time, 10 days had passed, and the Lava Kingdom showed no signs of mobilizing troops. It was not until an explosive news spread in Wuhan land that the demons gradually put their minds at ease. The content of this rumor is very simple. The destruction of the Nenean Alliance army was actually the result of the self-explosion of the Flame Demon Emperor. In other words, the mythical and powerful person who dominated the demon world 1,000 years ago has fallen. If such news was said by an ordinary demon, or even an ordinary demon king, most demons might not believe it, and even deny the authenticity of the news without even thinking about it. However, the one who spread this news was the great demon king Dire, who has the title of the first demon king. In this way, although such news still made the demons unbelievable, they were not denied immediately. Then the great demon king Dire explained that he felt a sudden explosion of a powerful force in the south more than a month ago, and then this force quickly fell into silence. It believed that this must be a sign of the Flame Demon Emperor's self-destruction. In addition, the great demon king Dire also vaguely revealed that the undead demon realm that mysteriously appeared and participated in the war against the Lava Kingdom had some strong men escaped. After they confirmed, the Flame Demon Emperor had indeed self-destructed and died. Under the convincing explanation of such a powerful task, almost all demons soon believed the incredible news that the Flame Demon Emperor had died. And after careful consideration, everyone agreed with this. The army sent by the Nenean Alliance at that time had a clear advantage in both ordinary soldiers and strong men. Although the Lava Kingdom has 2 million residents, not every resident of the Lava Kingdom has a strong combat power, and these flame creatures cannot gather quickly. For many years, the Wuhan land has been suppressing the Lava Kingdom meticulously. Although it is not clear how exactly, it can be confirmed that there are no more than 15 epic level strongmen in the Lava Kingdom. In fact, there are only about 10. Such a powerful force, plus the 20 demon kings of the mysterious undead demon realm, how can it be defeated? To put it another way, even if the opponent is the Flame Demon Emperor, there should not be a soldier or even a demon king who escaped, right? Therefore, there is only one reason and possibility for such a powerful force to be annihilated, that is, the Flame Demon Emperor, who is a mythical level strongman, blew himself up and brought the strongman of the Nenean Alliance to death. Thinking of this, the demons of the Wuhan land quickly recognized the statement that the Flame Demon Emperor was dead. Otherwise, according to the character of the Flame Demon Emperor who wanted to unify the demon world without reason 1,000 years ago, it would be impossible not to retaliate after defeating the Nenean Alliance. Chapter 522, Demon King Dire's Thoughts. After confirming that the Flame Demon Emperor was dead, the ordinary demons in the Abyss Land breathed a sigh of relief. However, the Demon Kings had other ideas. Soon, the Demon Kings in the central and western regions of the Abyss Land, who were quick-witted and had a good advantage, entered the areas that originally belonged to the South Abyss Alliance in large numbers and occupied the demon castles that had become ownerless. Previously, because they were worried that the revenge of the Lava Kingdom might come at any time, no one wanted to eat this piece of fat meat. Now that they knew that the Flame Demon Emperor was dead and the Lava Kingdom was no longer a threat, these ready-made demon castles would naturally be envied by the Demon Kings. Even among the demon castles that originally belonged to the South Abyss Alliance and still had Demon Kings left behind, 2 were occupied by the men sent by the great Demon King Dire. Because the remaining Demon Kings were too weak, it was impossible for the great Demon King Dire to release the news that the Flame Demon Emperor had died without any conspiracy. It knew that it would not be able to swallow the entire Nenean Alliance by itself, so it pretended to be a good demon and spread the news it learned from the undead. The result was not out of the imagination of the great Demon King Dire. Although the great Demon King Dire had several demon kings under him and occupied several demon cities, the forces that got a share of the Nenean Alliance did not show any jealousy, and the reputation of the great Demon King Dire was greatly improved. It was just that it couldn't figure out how the strong men of the undead demon realm survived the self-explosion of the Flame Demon Emperor and even escaped from the Lava Kingdom. Why did the undead demon realm, a mysterious force, tell it, a demon king who had no intersection with it, about the death of the Flame Demon Emperor? The great Demon King Dire did not think that it was because of his reputation as the first demon king that the undead demon realm was intimidated by his turtle spirit. Just looking at the fact that the great Demon King Murphy, who had always been considered a threat to his position, could not escape the fate of falling, and some strong men of the undead demon realm actually escaped, we can see the power of the undead demon realm. At least, relying on the power of the great demon King Dire, he had no confidence to compete with the undead demon realm. Therefore, the great demon King Dire was puzzled by the undead demon realm's act of selling him a favor. But the result was good. It had gained a lot in reputation and actual benefits, and it also accepted the favor of the undead demon realm. On the side of the undead demon realm, Zhao Kang was in a good mood at this time. Although 13 of his clone heroes were lost in the self-explosion of the Flame Demon Emperor. But these clone heroes, even if they died, can be created again in the Dark Altar. Even if a genuine hero like Kel'Thuzad died, he could be resurrected through the Dark Altar. It's just that it takes a lot of resources. Compared with genuine heroes, clone heroes can't be resurrected, and can only be recreated. This means that their level has to be upgraded from level 1 again. If it were in normal times, this would be enough to make Zhao Kang depressed. However, the completion of the task of killing the Flame Demon Emperor made Zhao Kang not mind the sacrifice of these 13 clone heroes at all. That's right, although the Flame Demon Emperor died by self-explosion in the end, the task issued by the undead system has been completed. Perhaps, the completion condition of this task is only the death of the Flame Demon Emperor, even if he is not killed by the undead. However, without the help of the undead, I'm afraid that the Nenean Alliance will not be able to force the Flame Demon Emperor to self-explode. Therefore, Zhao Kang did not regret sending out the hero team. The completion of the task of killing the Flame Demon Emperor is of great significance to the undead. If it is not completed, the undead Demon King level heroes will still only have 4 genuine heroes. As for those clone heroes, even if they have been upgraded to level 7 before, if the task fails, the advanced level limit will be forcibly erased. Now, the level limit of the undead clone heroes has been further upgraded to level 8. In this way, the possibility of Zhao Kang's next plan being realized is infinitely close to 100%. This so-called plan also includes making friends with the Great Demon King Dire. The Great Demon King Dire is now very proud. After the Nenean Alliance suffered a devastating blow and disbanded, the demon forces in the Wuoan land were the most powerful, occupying 8 demon castles. And now, it has a new idea, or ambition. The Lava Kingdom no longer has the banner of the Flame Demon Emperor. It is said that the one who now rules the Lava Kingdom is also a flame demon, but only has epic strength. It seems to be called the Flame Demon King, and his name is Gosmo. If it is only epic, the Great Demon King Dire will not look down on it. It thinks that it is already the strongest demon king under the mythical level. Even if it really faces the Flame Demon Emperor, it will not be like the Great Demon King Murphy who can't even escape. Since even the Flame Demon Emperor is not afraid, how can a small Flame Demon King be in the eyes of the Great Demon King Dire? What it wants is to conquer the Lava Kingdom. In the towering castle, the Great Demon King Dire is thinking. The other demon kings under his command have been sent out by it, and each occupies a demon castle. Therefore, the scene of the demon kings gathering together to discuss important matters could no longer be reproduced. The Lava Kingdom is definitely in a very weak state now. Apart from other things, the death of the Flame Demon Emperor has brought a blow to the Lava Kingdom that is not just as simple as losing a mythical powerful person. As one of the strongest people in the demon world, the Great Demon King Dire clearly knows the status of the Flame Demon Emperor in the hearts of the residents of the Lava Kingdom. Otherwise, that epic level Flame Demon would not be the current ruler of the Lava Kingdom. They are all epic level. If it weren't for the fact that Gosmo and the Flame Demon Emperor are of the same race, how could those flame creatures be convinced? However, even if the Lava Kingdom is in a weak state, it is not something that he can swallow. The Great Demon King Dire is very clear about this. Because of the self-explosion of the Flame Demon Emperor, I'm afraid that the epic level strongmen of the Lava Kingdom have not been lost much. In this case, he and his 7 demon kings alone cannot match the Lava Kingdom. Not to mention, the Lava Kingdom still has a large number of low and medium level flame creatures. Soon, the Great Demon King Dire thought of an alliance. Although the Nenean Alliance eventually went to extinction, when it existed, even the Great Demon King Dire had to avoid its edge. If he also established a similar alliance, would he be able to completely eliminate the Lava Kingdom? Shaking his head, the Great Demon King Dire gave up the idea. The establishment of the Nenean Alliance was the product of the pressure from the Flame Demon Emperor. It is almost impossible for demons to have such a feeling of trust. It is not easy for him to gather 7 demon kings as his subordinates. Now that the Flame Demon Emperor is gone, it is impossible to form an alliance. Perhaps, there is no need to form an alliance. The great Demon King Dire quickly thought of another way. He only needs to guide public opinion. With his current reputation and the panic brought to the demons by the Lava Kingdom, as long as he puts forward the slogan of eradicating the troubles and completely destroying the Lava Kingdom, there will definitely be a lot of responses. The more he thought about it, the more the great Demon King Dire felt that this method was feasible. With a smug smile on his face, the great Demon King Dire quickly gave orders and started to operate. As the first Demon King, everyone has been paying attention to the actions of the great Demon King Dire. The idea he proposed to destroy the Lava Kingdom was soon known to the demons in the Abyssless Land. Most demons agreed with this idea, except for the demons in the northern part of the Abyssless Land. There is no benefit for them to destroy the Lava Kingdom, as the Lava Kingdom is too far away from the northern part of the Abyssless Land. However, this does not affect the response of the demons in the central region and the western region. The Lava Kingdom was able to beat the Naniuan alliance to its current state, and it may threaten them in the future, even if the Flame Demon Emperor is dead. Soon, the Abyssless Land set off a wave of advancing into the Lava Kingdom, to completely eliminate the future troubles. The great Demon King Dire, as the initiator of the action, became the temporary leader. When the news came out, Zhao Kang smiled with satisfaction. His goal has been achieved. Chapter 523, Blood Elves come out. The demon world is divided into 4 regions: the Abandoned Land, Ice Purgatory, Lava Kingdom, and the Abyss Land. The Abyss Land occupies about 60% of the territory, so if it is divided in detail, it can still be divided into several smaller regions. For example, the area where the Demon King Dire's original demon castle was located is called the Central Region. Corresponding to it are the West Region, South Abyss, and North Wasteland. As for the East, because the land is more barren the closer to the Abandoned Land, there are few monsters, so there are only some scattered demon castles, which are not divided into detailed regions. In other words, in fact, the Abyss Land is also composed of 4 regions. Because of the huge area of the Abyss Land itself, any of these 4 regions is actually only a little smaller than the Lava Kingdom. However, the South Abyss has been severely damaged because of the failure of the 2 wars it launched against the Lava Kingdom. Now, it is the Demon King of the Central Region and the West Region who occupies a large number of demon castles in the South Abyss. As for the North Wasteland, because there is still the Central Region in the middle, it has not been able to get a share from the South Abyss. Perhaps it was because they failed to gain benefits from the south that the Demon Kings of the Northern Wasteland responded to the call of the great Demon King Dire to completely destroy the Lava Kingdom and restore peace to the demon realm. However, the great Demon King Dire did not care. In his eyes, the current Lava Kingdom is already in an unprecedentedly weak state. If the South Abyss Alliance still exists, then the South Abyss Alliance alone is enough to conquer the Lava Kingdom without the Flame Demon Emperor. What's more, now a large number of Demon Kings from the Central Region and the West Region, which are no less powerful than the South Abyss Alliance, have united. With 3 Demon Kings as traitors, Yu Fei cannot say that he knows everything about the developments in the Wuhuan land, but it is natural that he cannot be unaware of such a major event. Yu Fei felt a little ridiculous about the call issued by the great Demon King Dire. According to the information in the memory of the Flame Demon Emperor, the demon realm has existed for less than a year. Even if the great Demon King Dire conquered the Lava Kingdom and even unified the demon realm, he could only enjoy less than a year of glory at most. What's the point of such a short rule? But the great Demon King Dire didn't know. Or rather, there is not even a single demon in the demon world who knows that the world they live in will be destroyed within a year. This news has been hidden in the mind of the Fire Demon Emperor and has never been known to others. However, after all, the ruler of the Lava Kingdom is actually his subordinate Illidan, so Yu Fei had to take action. And his so-called action is naturally to hold back the great Demon King Dire. After learning that the demon world will be destroyed within a year, Yu Fei didn't care much about exposing the Blood Elves. Anyway, there is only less than a year, and even if the Blood Elves are exposed, it is impossible for them to be attacked and destroyed by the demons within a year. The action taken by Yuffie is to let the Blood Elves begin to expand outside the abandoned land. The abandoned land is originally a barren land, otherwise there would be no demon city. And this barrenness corresponds to the scarcity of demons and monsters. Although there are some demon tribes in the abandoned land that have failed in battles with other forces and fled into it, there are actually not many such tribes. In the past few months, the Blood Elves have already cleaned up the abandoned land. Apart from the Blood Elves, almost no other creatures can be seen. As for the monsters and demons that existed originally, except for some obedient inferior demons that were left as labor, the rest were all transformed into blood and flesh resources for the Blood Elves, and then trained, or produced a large number of Blood Elf soldiers. However, because there were no enemies to practice with, the newly trained Blood Elf soldiers were almost all at the ordinary level. The soldiers who had reached the elite level before, except for a small number of them being assigned as captains, most of them were still organized together as elite troops. Even if it was just to let the newly trained Blood Elves improve their levels, the Blood Elves needed to mobilize troops outside. Moreover, after the abandoned land was cleaned up by the Blood Elves, the blood and flesh resources were not so easy to obtain. They had to be obtained from the demons in the Land of the Infinite. There were only a dozen demon cities in the eastern part of the Land of the Infinite near the abandoned land. Among them, there are 2 demon castles without demon kings. This is the demon castle of the great demon king Piccolo and the demon castle of the missing beetle demon king. These 2 cities are now in a situation of co-governance, controlled by the 3 demon kings controlled by Yuffie and the other 4 nearby demon kings. Speaking of which, although the environment and resources of this area near the abandoned land are much better than those of the abandoned land, it is not as good as other areas of the Abyss land. It is precisely because of this that this place is often not noticed by forces in other areas of the Abyss land. Only the fall of the great demon king Piccolo before can surprise the forces of the Abyss land. However, compared with the establishment of the Naniuan alliance, the 2 wars with the Lava Kingdom, and even the fall of the great demon king Murphy and the Flame Demon Emperor, the news of the fall of the great demon king Piccolo was really weak, and was quickly forgotten by the demons. In addition, until the Blood Elves occupied this small area in the east of the Abyss land, it did not attract the attention of other areas of the Abyss land. Most of the demons focused their attention on the south. At this time, the call of the great demon Lord Dire had been fully responded to because they had occupied the ownerless demon city of the Naniuan alliance before. In fact, a large part of the demon kings in the central region and the western region gathered in Naniuan. In this way, it became relatively simple to form an army to expedition to the Lava Kingdom. Everyone elected the famous great demon Lord Dire as the nominal leader, and formed an army of 1 million to advance into the Lava Kingdom. On the surface, the million-strong army this time was more than the army organized by the Naniuan alliance for the second time, but the real situation was that their combat effectiveness was not as good as the 800,000 strong army of the Naniuan alliance. It was not only because the composition of this army was complex and mixed with soldiers from various demon kings. More, it was because there were not many demon kings who actually participated in this action. In addition to the fact that the great demon Lord Dire, as the initiator and nominal leader of the action, had to follow the army. In addition to it, there were only 12 demon kings who followed the army. For this situation, the great demon Lord Dire was indignant and helpless. Although the destruction of the Lava Kingdom and the complete elimination of future troubles are things that all the demon kings in the Wuuan land agree on, when it comes to really making an effort, not many demon kings are willing to do it themselves. In fact, even if the great demon king Dire himself is not confident enough in his own strength, and he is the initiator of the action, he is unwilling to participate in the war. After all, as long as it is a war, there will be losses. Don't you see that the huge Naniuan has fallen to this point because of 2 wars, and there are not even a few demon kings left. Although the Flame Demon Emperor has died, there are still some epic flame creatures in the Lava Kingdom. What those demon kings think is that if they participate in this war, they may be worried about their lives. In that case, even if the Lava Kingdom is finally destroyed, it will still have nothing to do with them, but it will benefit other forces, right? It is precisely because of the prevalence of this mentality that, although there are many people who respond to the proposal of the great demon king Dire, most of the demon kings only sent some troops, and not many of them are willing to participate in the war. Apart from anything else, the great Demon King Dire himself did not allow the other 7 Demon Kings under his command to personally participate in the war. Although the ownerless demon castles in Niniuan are now occupied by some demon kings, it looks very harmonious, but in fact, if a demon castle no longer has a demon king, the other dissatisfied demon kings will not be polite. So, this million-strong army led by only 13 demon kings, and who have little knowledge of the Lava Kingdom, stepped into the Lava Kingdom, clamoring to solve the future troubles. Chapter 524 Chaotic Situation. When Uferi learned that the mighty army of 1 million actually only had 13 demon kings, he was extremely speechless. With this little strength, dare you invade the Lava Kingdom? This is too much of an underestimation of the Lava Kingdom. You know, the Niniuan Alliance had more than 40 demon kings participating in the war, but in the end only 7 heroes of the Undead clan escaped. In fact, this cannot be blamed on the demon kings of the Wuuan land. For a long time, the most feared person in the Lava Kingdom is the Flame Demon Emperor. Because of the title of the mythical strongest and the feat of wanting to unify the demon world 1,000 years ago, the light of the Flame Demon Emperor is so dazzling that most demons equate the Flame Demon Emperor with the Lava Kingdom. Just like when they first learned that the Niniuan Alliance was completely wiped out in the Lava Kingdom during its second expedition, most demons did not dare to believe it. But when they learned that it was the Flame Demon Emperor's self-explosion that caused this to happen, all demons thought it was natural. The Flame Demon Emperor is qualified to be buried with 30 or 40 demon kings. It is precisely because of this that the Lava Kingdom without the Fire Emperor will be looked down upon by the demon kings in the central region and the western region. To be honest, Illidan likes this kind of underestimation. When Uferi informed Illidan of the composition of the coalition forces that invaded the Lava Kingdom, he instantly relaxed. Even Uferi was extremely depressed at this time. With such an army, Illidan himself was enough to resist, or even eat it. Now it seems that letting the Blood Elves emerge in an attempt to contain the demon forces of the Abyss Land, to share the pressure with Illidan has become a self-indulgent act. Forget it. Uferi sighed helplessly. Anyway, since it has been exposed, then just make a big one. The demon world will only exist for less than a year, and the strength of the Blood Elves must be improved as much as possible during this period. In this way, the Blood Elves can also go to the Esraz continent and cooperate with the Night Elves to conquer Esraz. With this idea, Uferi has nothing to worry about. The biggest drawback of the Blood Elves now is that there are no heroes, that is, no epic masters. However, a small number of people who have reached the full level of experience, such as the Blood Rage Knights, the Asylum Knights, and the Elite Blood Elf Magicians, have all reached the legendary level. When the number of legends reaches a certain level, it is enough to rival the epic. Just like when the South Abyss Alliance invaded the Lava Kingdom for the first time, the little fire demon summoned by the Fire Demon Emperor chased and beat the dozen demon kings after they split into hundreds. Therefore, although the Blood Elves did not have epic mythical masters after Illidan left, Uferi was not afraid of those demon kings at all. In fact, he was no longer satisfied with the small area in the east of the Wuuan land, and actually began to invade the central region. It was not until this time that the appearance of the Blood Elves, or the Rise, was noticed by the demons. After all, the Blood Elves originally existed in the demon world, not like the undead demon realm, which suddenly emerged without any trace. However, for the Blood Elves, the demons were more shocked than when they discovered the existence of the undead demon realm. No matter how you look at it, the undead demon realm still appears to be a race belonging to the demon world. For example, the heroes sent to the South Abyss Alliance are dominated by heroes with the appearance of ordinary demons, such as the Dread Demon Lord and the Crypt Lord. Although it appeared suddenly, most demons agreed that it was a local force in the demon world. Besides, the undead demon realm is located in the barren ice purgatory, and there is no conflict with the demons of the Abyss Land, so naturally it is not concerned. But the Blood Elves are obviously different. First of all, the Blood Elves are the product of the localization of foreign races, and their status was originally low. And the Blood Elves have always given people a feeling of weakness in terms of both number and strength, so they are not valued by the demons but rejected. However, now the Blood Elves are extremely surprised by the demons in terms of strength and aggressiveness. When the small area in the east of the Abyss land was occupied, not many demons paid attention to it, but the Blood Elves actually began to attack the central area of the Abyss land, which is a bit too rampant. In just half a month, the central region was engulfed in flames of war. The invading Blood Elf soldiers and the angry demons fought desperately in this land at the core of the demon world. The Blood Elves got rising experience points and a large amount of flesh and blood resources, but the demons got nothing. At this time, the original leader of the central region, the great demon king Dire, was far away in the Lava Kingdom. The 7 demon kings under him were also in the newly occupied demon city in Nanalan. Fortunately, the location of Dire Demon City is relatively close to the West District and has not been attacked by the Blood Elves. Now, in the south of the demon world, the central region and the West District coalition forces of Wuoan land are advancing into the Lava Kingdom to fight. Naniuan has not completely settled down, and there are still many demon kings fighting for territory. Here in the central region, the Blood Elves appeared and started a war. It seems that only the northern wasteland is relatively stable. But is it really so? Outside a demon city in the northernmost part of the northern wasteland, endless undead creatures have surrounded the city. On the top of the city, the owner of this demon city looked depressed. Even though he was a demon king, he lost the courage to resist after seeing the endless strange creatures with obvious hostility. This was not because he was frightened by these strange creatures, but because he knew clearly what these creatures represented. Half a year ago, this demon city was not the northernmost city in the northern wasteland. There were 2 other demon cities further north of this demon city. But half a year ago, countless strange creatures emerged from the icy purgatory without any demon smoke and destroyed the 2 demon cities in one fell swoop. After that, the demon city owned by this demon king became the northernmost city in the northern wasteland. In fact, after that, the demon king also thought about escaping from this dangerous place, but on the one hand, he was reluctant to leave the demon city he had built with great effort. On the other hand, he also had a fluke mentality, thinking that the 2 destroyed demon cities had provoked the existence in the icy purgatory, so they were attacked. If he didn't provoke those strange creatures, he should be fine. When the Naniuan alliance invaded the Lava Kingdom for the second time, although it had nothing to do with Bihuan, as a demon king, it naturally understood the general situation. It was not until then that it knew that the force in the ice purgatory was called the Undead Demon Realm. At that time, the Undead Demon Realm revealed 20 demon kings, which made the demon king of this demon city feel a little relieved after being frightened. Such a powerful force, participating in the war against the Lava Kingdom, should not have any intentions on its own small demon city, right? However, the fact is that this demon city has been surrounded by the undead. When seeing several demon kings who were obviously stronger than himself slowly walking out of the team under the city, the demon king gave up resistance. When the news of the war in Bihuang came out, all the demons were not calm. For the Undead Demon Realm, most demons are not as hostile to the Blood Elves. Of course, the general direction of the Wuoan land of unanimous exclusion is still unified. However, at this time, wars were going on everywhere. Except for the northern wilderness, the demon forces in other parts of the Wuoan land had no time to pay attention to the actions of the Undead Demon Realm. Compared with the Lava Kingdom and the Blood Elves, the priority of dealing with the invasion of the Undead Demon Realm was lower. Some wise demons also felt something was wrong at this time. The demon world has not had a big war for a long time. Why is the frequency of war so high in recent times? Now, it can be said that there is no place in the demon world that is not fighting. Perhaps the West District is relatively peaceful. Could it be that this is a rehearsal for the Holy War? Many demons murmured in their hearts. However, although the lifespan of demons is long, it is also limited. Among the demons who participated in the last Holy War, only the Flame Demon Emperor lived to this era, but he also died not long ago. Therefore, no one knows whether the demon world will fall into such a chaotic war before the Holy War. Perhaps this is the last carnival before the destruction of the demon world. Chapter 525, Anticlimax. In the Lava Kingdom, the great demon King Dire was in a bad mood. He originally thought that without the Flame Demon Emperor, the Lava Kingdom would be vulnerable. The great demon King Dire also knew the status of the Flame Demon Emperor in the hearts of the residents of the Lava Kingdom. But what he didn't expect was that facing the million-strong army under his command, the Lava Kingdom actually showed a strong sense of resistance and an indomitable will to fight. It was as if the death of the Flame Demon Emperor did not affect their fighting spirit, but instead stimulated the bloodiness of those fire creatures that had no blood at all. The composition of the army under the command of the Great Demon King Dire was complex. Almost every Demon King in the central region and the western region of the Wuhan land symbolically send out a few thousand or tens of thousands of troops to form an army called a million. The troubles in management are naturally needless to say. The name of the Great Demon King Dire can still calm the situation. Although there must be more or less dirty things between the troops of so many forces, there was no big chaos under the suppression of the Great Demon King Dire. The key point is that these demons who have never been here before are not well prepared for the environment of the Lava Kingdom. The original Naniuan alliance was fine because it was close to the Lava Kingdom, so at least it knew to select a large number of fire-oriented demons. The demon soldiers who went to the battle this time were all from the central region and the western region, and almost no demon knew the true situation of the Lava Kingdom. Therefore, it was natural that they were not adapted to this hot environment. There were even some oolong incidents of some troops falling behind, or even getting lost because there were no demons familiar with the terrain. And a large number of the demon soldiers who fell behind mysteriously disappeared. In addition, the number of soldiers in the Demon Alliance was as high as 1 million, but there were only 13 Demon Kings. The disadvantages soon emerged. 1 million soldiers were distributed to 13 Demon Kings, and 1 Demon King had to take care of 70,000 to 80,000 soldiers. This was impossible. You know, when the Naniuan Alliance invaded the Lava Kingdom for the second time, they had more than 40 Demon Kings, including the 20 heroes sent by the Undead. But even so, they were still overwhelmed by Illidan's various sneak attacks and traps. Now, the coalition of Wuhan land only has 13 Demon Kings who can effectively warn of sneak attacks and traps, so Illidan will not let them go. This coalition, which is larger than the second expeditionary force of the Naniuan Alliance, is completely inferior to the Naniuan Alliance in coping with Illidan's various guerrilla warfare and traps. After all, the Naniuan Alliance is close to the Lava Kingdom and knows a little about the situation of the Lava Kingdom, and they have had experience before, and the veterans who have experienced the first war can lead the new recruits. When Illidan found that this million-strong army was easier to deal with than the previous 800,000 troops, the pressure that was originally not much disappeared without a trace. The Great Demon King Dire is now regretting that he did not bring some demons from the Naniuan when he went on the expedition. When he issued a call to completely eradicate the Lava Kingdom, the Naniuan, which had already been seriously injured and became a mess, did not have many demons to respond to the call. The Great Demon King Dire did not care about Naniuan, which only had a bunch of old, weak, sick and disabled demons left, and simply did not include even one demon from Naniuan in the team. Now, it was too late for it to regret. In fact, even if it brought some demons from Naniuan, it would not have played any role in this expedition. The veterans who survived the first invasion of the Lava Kingdom by the Naniuan Alliance were all brought in during the second invasion, and then the entire army was annihilated in the Lava Kingdom. Now there are no demons familiar with the Lava Kingdom in Naniuan. Facing Illidan's ubiquitous sneak attacks and traps that could be stepped on at any time, the Wuhan Earth Demon Alliance has gradually become as nervous as the Naniuan Alliance troops at that time. Although Illidan did not need to delay time this time, he used various means more skillfully and attentively than last time. After all, he used to work for the Fire Demon Emperor, but now he is his own boss, which is completely different. In this case, the performance of the Wuhan Earth Alliance was much worse than that of the Naniuan Alliance troops at that time. Even half a month had passed, and they hadn't even reached the volcanic zone. This made Illidan speechless. Should we say that this Great Demon King Dire was confident, or should we say that he was foolish and bold? He had no idea about the terrain of the Lava Kingdom, and didn't even know where the core area was, but he dared to lead his troops in like this. What Illidan didn't know was that the Great Demon King Dire had already intended to withdraw his troops, but thinking that he hadn't even touched the edge of the main force of the Lava Kingdom, withdrawing his troops like this would be a huge blow to his reputation. Therefore, after considering for a long time, the Great Demon King Dire still couldn't make up his mind to retreat. It was not until the news that the Blood Elves suddenly became extremely powerful and swarmed out of the abandoned land to attack the central region came that the great Demon King Dire found an excuse in addition to being nervous and ordered a withdrawal. When he first discovered that the coalition forces of the Abyssland had withdrawn their camp, Illidan was still cautious, thinking that this might be the enemy luring him to take action so that he could have a head-on confrontation. Although the overall strength of the Lava Kingdom is not less powerful than the million-strong army of the Abyssland, the two sides are not at the same level in terms of war potential, and it is obviously unwise to fight head-on. However, after observing for a period of time, Illidan discovered that the Abyssland coalition was actually retreating. Thinking of the Blood Elves wreaking havoc in the Abyssland, Illidan no longer doubted it, and began to recruit soldiers and generals to chase the Abyssland coalition. In the end, coupled with various sneak attacks and traps before, 200,000 soldiers of the Abyssland coalition were lost in the Lava Kingdom, but they did not achieve any results. The great Demon King Dire did not care about this loss at all, and even the Demon Kings who lost their troops did not care much. There were 70 or 80 Demon Kings participating in this coalition, and the loss shared by each Demon King was nothing at all. However, this originally grand and loud expedition ended like this, which really seemed a little anticlimactic. Not only Illidan thought so, but many demons in the Abyssland also expressed dissatisfaction. But the great Demon King Dire had the excuse that the Blood Elves invaded the central region, and those dissatisfied demons could only calm down their emotions in the end. The great Demon King Dire's lair, the Dire Demon City, was in the central region. We couldn't let the first Demon King lose his lair, right? After the return of the great Demon King Dire, the Blood Elves were under great pressure. Because the influence of the great Demon King Dire was more effective in the central region, 8 of the 12 Demon Kings other than him in the troops that went to the Lava Kingdom were from the central region. Now these Demon Kings and many demon soldiers from the central region have returned, which is undoubtedly a shot in the arm for the central region, which has been in constant war. The momentum of the Blood Elves' advance was quickly curbed. Even in some places, the areas that had been occupied by the Blood Elves were taken back by the demons. Fortunately, the Blood Elves were only facing the demon forces in the central region. Namilan can now be ignored. The demon forces in the west and the central region have a lot of friction in the fight for territory in Nanilan, and they have no intention of supporting the central region for the time being. As for the northern wasteland, the momentum of the Undead's attack is very fierce. All the Demon Kings in the northern wasteland add up to less than 40. But the Undead's genuine heroes plus a large number of cloned heroes whose level cap has been raised to level 8, the number has exceeded 40. Even if the 13 newly created cloned heroes still need some wars and time to reach level 8, that is, the level of Demon King, the Undead's only 20 Demon Kings and a large number of Undead creatures are enough to form a crushing posture in the northern wasteland. Therefore, the northern wasteland has no leisure and ability to provide support to the central region. On the contrary, the northern wasteland even needs support from other regions of the Wuoan land. However, the demon world is now full of wars, who will help the northern wasteland to fight against the undead demon realm. Thanks to the book friend Yangyu and Dadu for the monthly ticket and evaluation ticket. Thanks to the book friend Maosha Tudao for the magic cake. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.